The Survivor Specialists are back, and once again, I am joined by Wes from Once Upon an Island as we continue discussing winning Survivor today, Caramoan to Worlds Apart. That means we are talking about Cochran, Tyson, Tony 1.0, Natalie Anderson, and Mike Holloway. A good stretch of winners here. I'm excited to discuss them. I was just telling Wes before we went live, none of these five have come up in the first 20 names of our winner rankings thus far. So I am not able to announce where we have them yet. I know, Wes, you will obviously get into some of that as we go through the podcast. But yeah, this is a good stretch, and I think that kind of sums it up. So I'm excited to, talk about all of these winners. We have two returning player winners to start it off with, which is always interesting. What do you do with returning player winners? Cochran's game, Tyson's game. Are these the blueprints for winning for half returning player seasons to win the game with a little bit more competitive of cast? I guess Cochran's cast wasn't very competitive, but Tyson's was. I don't know, Wes. I'm excited to dive into this. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this group. I think this is an interesting group. It has one of my favorite winners in it. And then I know, Phil, we might as well tell everyone we're not doing this next week because we're doing this tomorrow morning. Mm-hmm. So we were like, should we record in advance? And no, screw it. We're doing it live. We're doing this live tomorrow. So join us tomorrow for what? Cambodia through Ben Dreberg and HVHVH. What a terrible
name. Heroes versus healers versus hustlers. Don't you forget it.
We're covering 10 winners today and tomorrow. So tune in for that.
Noon Eastern time tomorrow, if everybody was wondering. And then there won't be an episode next week, and we'll have one the week after on the 23rd. But yeah, I mean, so we're really going to be going through an era where Survivor was going through a massive evolution too. I think that's what's fun about doing these on back-to-back days is, across these 10 seasons, Survivor's coming out of the doldrums of the darkest era of Survivor, the four worst seasons, maybe with the exception of once we get into new era, but who knows, we'll get there when we get there. But 21 to 24 were a disaster. 25 kind of brings us back up to life a little bit. And then 26 through 30 and then 31 through 35 is really when the show's trying to find itself again and figure out what it actually wants to be. So it's going to be a fun little stretch to talk about all at once. And there's really nothing better than starting this off by just talking about fans versus favorites too. And one of the main reasons why, and we'll get to this with Blood versus Water as well, a lot of times lightning doesn't strike twice. And Survivor tried to do fans versus favorites a second time, thinking this would be really popular. It was really popular the first time. And unfortunately, they forgot that they were supposed to actually cast a full tribe of favorites and a full tribe of fans. And so that makes for Caramoan to be a very unique season. It's one that I actually enjoy a little bit more than some others. I remember I didn't have it ranked quite as low as I thought I would on this recent rewatch, but it is such a tough season because when you're sitting there and you're watching the favorites tribe, you're like, okay, who are the actual favorites here? Malcolm is a favorite. Cochran is a favorite. Eric Reichenbach is a favorite. Maybe Corinne, but she was so vile. I don't know if she was actually a favorite. Beyond that, you're like, who are these people? And then you look at the fans tribe and 90% of them had never watched Survivor before. So what an interesting way to start and what a different type of winning game Cochran had to have here than Parvati did back in the first version.
So since we have a running trend of talking about, what extra stuff's on the DVD, this is one of those where on the DVD for Caramoan, there's an interview with Corinne where she's like, I'm not a fan favorite. I'm a producer favorite. And that's why I'm on the season. And I'm like, yep, that's it. Because it's definitely not. She's the only one from Nicaragua pre-21 that's on the season.
Reichenbach too. Eric is.
Yeah, Eric. Well, yeah. Almost forget he's here sometimes.
Do you know what happened to Eric, by the way? Did you ever, I don't mean to interrupt your thought, but do you know why Eric was pulled from the game?
This season?
Yeah.
Shoot, I forgot. The thing is, I've covered it like multiple times, but I've covered so many things that it goes in one ear out the other. Can you remind me?
He had an allergic reaction to a antibiotic they put him on for like a cut he had. And so they play it off like his blood pressure just dropped and whatever. Then they never mention it again. And he was really mad that they never mentioned it at the finale, at the reunion. But that's why he ended up getting pulled out of the game, was because he had an allergic reaction to a medication they put him on while he was out there. Sorry, I just feel like that's always something that gets missed in this community.
No, that's completely fair. I know he made a video about it a few years ago, and I've used that in a couple of videos. I made a video about him on both seasons he was on, and I included that. So thanks for reminding me. This season, I think it's a tale of two seasons. This is the first time they really did a sequel that I can remember. I think this is the first time he did a sequel, because we're going to have another sequel later with Blood vs. Water 2. But it's very telling of the Jeff Probst era of him taking over as executive producer. This is our 4th returnee season with some sort of returnees since Nicaragua. So 21 through 26 is our 4th time we've had returnees. It's an overload at this point, but they're going to do it again next season with 27, and they're finally going to get it right. But it's always down to casting. And this season, the fans were more obviously not fans than they were the first time around. And the favorites are so obviously not favorites like they were the first time around. Like, you could argue a couple of people for each of them were like, are those fans? Are those favorites? This time it's like, yeah, there's like 2 favorites here. Malcolm and Eric, I guess you could say, were favorites.
I think Cochran was a favorite too. I know on the online community didn't love him, but he's a massive favorite outside of the online community.
Okay, I'm trying to think around this time frame, looking up what people were talking about at the time. I know Eric and Malcolm, and I'm like, Dawn, no. Philip, no. Philip is very. I know some people love Philip, but he's very much not liked in general. Who else we got here?
Francesca, certainly not. Andrea, they were just. This just showed what a shortage
Andrea's
they
just
had
fine.
Of the women during that era. Like, they needed a young woman who was actually willing to play the game, and they were doing such a dreadful job of casting young women during this era. And Andrea was the only one who played.
I like Brenda on Nicaragua because I like how villainous she was. But then this season, she decided she's going to be good, and they're not interested in telling that story until she has her moment with Dawn.
I know.
For like 9 episodes, they don't care that Brenda's turned a corner and is now being good and being a hero.
So speaking of fun facts with this, her confessional count on this season is truly remarkable, because then I think she ends up finishing 3rd in like fan favorite voting or something absurd like that.
Yeah. Because everybody's like, we agree with you, Brenda. Go at it. Go at Dawn.
Yeah, and I always say I don't think that there's any, like, is it nasty? Sure, but I'm all about Survivor being nasty. I think there's certain lines you can't cross. I think Varner proves that, a couple seasons later. But in this instance, like, I don't really think that, whatever. This is your moment. Go for it. I don't care. I can't find it. I normally I can pull up the confessional count very quickly, but for some reason I'm having a hard time right now. But anyway, I think it's something along the lines of 8 or 9 episodes in a row where she has 0 confessionals, and then all of a sudden she's like pops up with a few, but she's invisible.
And also, I think it's very telling that Jeff Probst at the reunions like, Dawn, are you going to apologize to Brenda? And it's like just a one-way street. Like, that's the perception Survivor's pushing, and I'm guessing it's where the fans were standing. So I know that this series, we're here to talk about the winners, though I just love talking about the seasons in general. So I've seen some people say, oh, we should talk more about the winners. We're definitely going to do that. But I think there's so much to talk about the seasons as well that I love. But yes, John Cochran comes this season with a buddy and Dawn, and not everybody has that. Philip is not buddies with Andrea or Francesca, and Francesca's not buddies with Andrea. Like, they're all like separate people from the same season. Brenda's by herself. Eric's by himself. Malcolm's by himself. Corinne's by herself. So, like, Cochran came in with an advantage having somebody who actually he worked with. And I know he burned Dawn at the end in South Pacific, but like, I don't know. She didn't take it as hard as so many others. Like, it's not like he came into the season with Ozzy. Like, okay, they're not working together. But this was with Dawn, who, she was willing to work with him.
Because you always look at these relationships and how they're built in, and you look, this happens on a lot of the seasons. Heroes versus Villains is another example. Like, Tom and Stephanie are kind of ostracized right off the bat just because they don't know these other players who have all played together so many times. And you look at it and you say, oh, there's 3 people from Redemption Island. None of them work together. Andrea and Francesca didn't work together. Francesca and Philip certainly didn't work together. Francesca and Andrea didn't work together. So you have 3 people, but again, like you're saying, like, they're not friends with each other. Malcolm's on an island. Eric's on an island. And then you have Corinne on an island. And then you have 3 people from South Pacific. And honestly, something that gets slept on pretty big going into the season is not just Dawn. Cochran also has his buddy in Brandon, because if you remember on that season, Brandon really stands up for Cochran big time in South Pacific when the rest of his tribe is kind of going at him. And Brandon, probably one of the only normal and sane things Brandon does in his 2 seasons on the show, but he really does go to bat for Cochran, saying, like, you all got to back off. But the one thing I will say is Cochran's relationships pre-game don't actually play into this season as much as you would think they do. Cochran plays a lot more of this season in the background than I remembered. I just rewatched this not too long ago, and I was genuinely surprised at how he was able to take control without ever having to be like so outwardly in control, because some of the personalities on this season were just absurd, and he had to deal with it all the way through.
I think that Cochran played it exactly right in a way that not people generally don't like, but this is how returnee seasons are won so consistently. You just stand back, let everybody go after each other, and then you step in at the end, show people that they like you, make a couple of moves, and win the game. And that's what Cochran did. And we just saw it with Aubrey. We see it with so many other returning winners. I think the only exception to this rule really is Tony Vlachos on Winners at War. I just rewatched that recently because I'm making a video about his win there, or remaking it, because YouTube took down the original Phil. I just love that. It was up for 5-6 years and YouTube took it down. So make it from scratch.
YouTube's on like they sent an email to everybody saying, we understand that certain things are coming down for copyright infringement that aren't copyright infringement. I'm like, what do you mean you understand that?
You don't understand if you're doing it. Yeah, they took down 50 plus videos on my channel, most of them story videos. So I'm going to fix most of them. Some of them I just got to completely remake because it's from a time when I don't have the original files anymore, unfortunately. So Tony's one of them. I rewatched it. Tony is literally saying we have to get out these hyenas. That's what he calls them. These people who sit on sides. We heard during 50. They were talking about get out people in the middle. It's the same idea, just different names for it, so that the Lions can go to the end. Well, really, the only time it happens in a returning season in terms of Lions going to the end and winning is Tony. I'm thinking through, Amber was not a lion. She was a hyena. Sandra, hyena. Parvati.
She was a hyena going into that season. 100%.
She became a lion at the end, but even then, she was not the most vicious of her group, but she was part of a vicious group. Hyena becoming lion. Trying to think what other returnee seasons happened up to this point. I think Caramoan's the next one after Heroes versus Villains. Cochran's a hyena. Blood versus Water. Tyson's a hyena. He's not a lion. I know that he's loved, but he's not a lion. Cambodia. Jeremy's a hyena. A little bit of a lion in San Juan del Sur, but not in Cambodia.
He's not.
Sarah Lucina, hyena.
Yeah.
Just like it speaks for themselves when it's like most of the time it is about staying under the radar. So the bigger names, the bigger egos can attack each other, and you just let it happen. And Cochran did it here. And we got to mention, perfect game. Only other player besides JT to accomplish this without needing any idols or anything, because Jeremy accomplishes it if his idol counts. Like, some people don't count the idol. If you think his idol, where he negates the only 3 votes against him, counts, then there you go. Jeremy's also a perfect winner, but some people don't count it. So
yeah, I still say Jeremy got votes. Jeremy played an idol successfully to negate those votes, but it's like there's still votes that were cast for Jeremy on that season, whereas that never happens with Cochran. And I think that's also where people just think, well, Cochran had a really easy ride. Man, he didn't, though. Like, he had to really give and take a lot on this season, dealing with Brandon, dealing with Francesca. The Francesca boot at the beginning was another example of that. When Matt gets voted out at final whatever episode that is, when Matt goes, and it's Matt, Cochran, Dawn, Philip, Michael, Corinne. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, it's Philip, Michael, Corinne, Julia, Matt, Dawn, and Cochran. And Cochran kind of starts to feel that Corinne is trying to build up a little bit of an army of her and some of these other outside, fan people. And he kind of pushes back against that. And that's what ultimately leads to Corinne being voted out at Final 12 right before the jury starts. And that's really when the game just kind of kicks into gear from there, and Cochran just really has it in control from there. But he does a really great job of just managing his threat level and just letting other people pop up throughout, where it's like, Andrea might be a bigger threat than Cochran. She's never a bigger threat than Cochran, but he's able. She
had an idol that way. She had an idol, I guess. It really, for me, Phil, it's almost like when Philip goes, because Cochran was more than willing to let Philip be the leader and be the face of their alliance. And that was fine. And even when the 3 amigos do their super 2 idol play to get out Philip, which it's been discussed, they misplayed that. They could have done that a lot better. Just less information given out, basically. Cochran's like, yeah, it's fine. Like, okay, there goes Philip. Fine, like he needed to go at some point, and just doesn't deter his game at all. Nothing really ever deters his game. Nobody ever targets him. I think he learned a lot from South Pacific. Cochran of South Pacific was way more confident. I know he says his paranoia is why he won, and I'm sure it helped him like be on his toes, but he was way more confident here, cool, calm, and collected, even though it's only like a year later from South Pacific.
And I really have to push back against this. Daryl Seymour saying Cochran had no threat level to start with, unlike other players. That is just, to me, that's completely false. I think Cochran, whether you think he's the biggest target or not, whether he was a good player in South Pacific, I think people viewed him as a good player and as somebody who really understood the game. When you look at the rest of that tribe, Francesco wasn't a threat. Brandon wasn't a threat. Corinne wasn't a threat. Philip wasn't a threat. Andrea's really not a threat. Maybe Brenda was being seen as a threat. Malcolm, they hadn't seen play, so they don't know.
Yeah.
And then
so Malcolm's probably a threat in their mind because they hadn't seen him. I mean, you could say Malcolm, maybe.
But they
Eric is not. Eric's been a joke ever since his first season, and it's not even fair. Like Eric could have won the season. He's a joke because of, but the Survivor won't shut up about it.
Yeah. No, I mean,
even this season, they're not interested in Eric until they can be like, oh, Eric gave Andrea the immunity idol. Cochran's like, has he learned nothing? And it's like, it's actually not a bad play by Eric.
I always say this. Eric is, because he gave up the necklace, people just like want to trash Eric. Eric finishes 5th twice, once because he gets pulled from the game. Eric's probably going to final 3 on both seasons if he doesn't give up his necklace and if he doesn't get medevac. Yeah. Does he win either of those seasons? Maybe. Like, I don't know, because they really weren't interested in telling his story the second time. He says he would have had to, have a really big moment at the final tribal council to figure out what was going on. But I just feel like he plays a much better game than people give him credit for. I always rank him, whenever it's like, hey, do a top 100 Survivor players, I always say Eric needs to be in there, and people kind of laugh at me. I'm like, no, like, he had one blunder, but he was in a winning position twice, and he was always in the middle on this season, which was a good thing, but people just didn't view him as much of a threat. But yeah, no, I think Cochran absolutely was if you were to say to me, out of the 10 returning players, Cochran's easily top 4, if not top 3, most threatening, because nobody saw Malcolm play, so nobody cared.
Yeah, I mean, the unknown factor of Malcolm was enough for people to not super trust him, but I don't. Yeah, it's just this season is a season full of non-fans versus mostly non-favorites. It's a very interesting season. It's tale 2 seasons. The first half's just a chaotic, dramatic mess. Not much good gameplay in the first half at all. Mostly just drama with Brandon and Philip. Yeah. And even in Secret Scenes, Phil, from Caramoan, if you've seen these, but there's one where Brandon's in the water with Eric, and he's like, Eric, if they don't do what we say, we should just blow up the whole camp, burn it all down. He's already like predicting what he's going to do. This is a secret scene. I'm like, this should have been left in the show, but maybe it would have made the show look bad because they knew it was coming. Like, if this was a secret scene, it means how often was he talking about it? And Eric's just laughing because Eric doesn't think it's like, why would he think that's serious? But no, Brandon was dead serious.
I don't know how Brandon passed psych both times. True.
Oh yeah, and then there's a secret scene from the first episode. That was from episode 5. There's a secret scene from the first episode where Brandon gives Cochran a hug, I think, and they're like, and Cochran's like, is this an okay hug? Or are you mad at me? It's like he's already on edge about Brandon. He knows. Gotta be on edge with Brandon. You can't fully trust the man. Which goes back to my thought that I don't think he was winning South Pacific. He reaches the end, despite what Jim said. I know we talked about that last time.
Yeah, I don't put a lot of fact in that statement because they might have said that. And we're gonna get back at them. Like if Jim wants to be a bitter juror, Jim can be a bitter juror, and I'm sure Keith and Whitney would have been bitter, but I don't think everybody else would have been bitter. To that extent, I don't think they're necessarily just gonna vote for Brandon, who was crazy. So I just go back to with Cochran on this season. I remember at the time when this was airing live, a lot of people just felt like, it's not that impressive. They put him on with his friends, whatever. I think like Cochran works. That's all I'm going to say. Cochran definitely works throughout this season and has to make things happen. And he builds real alliances, and he's always kind of in control without being overly controlling. And it is similar to like Parvati has her closer. It's Parvati, Suri, and Amanda who are in control without ever feeling like they're being controlling until the very end of that game. In this one, it is more of like Cochran and Dawn, but Dawn always feels like she's just following Cochran around and she's not really doing
no one
much.
respects Dawn, as shown at Final Tribal.
Yeah, as shown by most people were siding with Brenda again. And like, I mean, Brenda, so this is what's crazy. I found it finally. Brenda had one confessional in the premiere and did not have another confessional until episode number 10.
And 10 is the one where her teeth fall into that pond.
And she gets one confessional. Brenda ends up ending with 13 on the season, but she literally has 2 after 10 episodes. It's crazy.
Yeah. Because she ends up having that moment with her dad that makes Jeff actually tear up. So it's like her story doesn't kick off till episode 10 because they're not interested in her being a hero. They're interested in the drama. Fair enough. Brenda was like, there's a secret scene of Cochran going, Brenda just sits by the rocks and just kind of stares at them all day. I'm like, if true, that's an insane strategy. Like, just stay out of the way. People forget you exist. I think that's the strategy, which is just crazy. But anyway, Cochran's best move this season, Phil. I personally think his best move is, I know Final Tribal, like, it was already in his direction, but he did nothing wrong, and he answered everybody's questions exactly as needed. Saying that I wasn't better than any of you. I just had better timing. Like, my time is just better. That's it. I'm not better than any of you. And of course, telling people he'll drink with them at the bar or whatever. Like Cochran would do it. But like I don't know if he did, but like Cochran would do that. I find that hard to believe, but it's what they wanted to hear.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's a great Final Tribal performance. I still think it's the Corinne move, going after one of the favorites who you know is not going to work with you, and you know is kind of like building up this army. Where if she was able to get her way there and get Sherry out of the game, she really did have Michael. She had Malcolm. She had Eddie. She had Reynolds. And Corinne plays a much better game on this season than people give her credit for.
Yeah,
and Cochran
being merge.
Yeah, Cochran really sniffing that out at 12 was the moment where it was like, okay, great. Now there's no way that people can overcome us. And I think another thing that Cochran doesn't get enough credit for, just putting up with Philip for as long as he needed to, is a very good, game move. That's very solid.
He pulled a Boston Rob. You just got to put up with Philip.
Yeah.
Just let him be crazy. That's okay. What's his worst move, Phil?
If I was, when I look at his game, I think his worst move, I don't know. So it's weird because he doesn't go to many tribal councils in the pre-merge. And then when he does go, it's just like, okay, we're going to get rid of Matt and we're going to get rid of Julia. Like, and that just seems very, very straightforward. I don't know if he has like a worst move. And this was an era where Survivor was protecting their winners a little bit. And Survivor was definitely like not showing as many blemishes for the people who are going to end up winning the game. I think that's why, after what happened with Fabio and then Sophie was hidden. And then, it was like, okay, we're going to really start to show more of our winners. Natalie, Sandra, like there was that stretch there where like 4 out of 5 or 4 out of 6 winners weren't anything. Daryl Seymour, man, the hate for Cochran is absolutely absurd. Like, I don't know what you want from us. Cochran didn't do anything, so he can't have a worse move. Okay, cool. That's what you think. I don't know what you want from us. But it's like, I just think that Cochran, he doesn't have a worse move because everything went the way he wanted it to the whole season. The only time that it didn't go his way was when Philip goes home, but he's okay with losing Philip.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Three Amigos just misplayed that entire play. Cochran, I mean, the number reflects. It's like when we talk about JT, the number just reflects the game. Like, JT played a flawless game. I basically agree. There wasn't much in the way of dumb moves by JT. Same with Cochran. There's not much in the way of dumb moves. Cochran also, Jeff is fawning over Cochran this season, just in love with the guy. He gets 3 immunities, and I think 2 were because he had advantages. So it's like he has 3 wins, but one was eating food. The other one was he had the advantage holding the rope because he got to be like 2 knots ahead of everybody else. And then the other one was the one where he makes the fire puzzle, but he didn't have to untie ropes or knots or something. I don't know. Which I do think that he won that advantage by winning our challenge, I guess, to be fair. But again, it's like, it's not like he was like, they were like, Cochran, the immunity beast in the opening of the finale. And I'm like, he is. And then the advertising this season, Phil, I found this one's just on YouTube, where it's like for the finale goes, how does it go? It's talking about the final 4, and it says, who is in the final 4? Sorry.
Well, so it was
Cochran,
going into the
Dawn,
final
Sherry.
5 because Eric doesn't get medevac till the premiere. So it's Eddie, Eric, Sherry, Dawn,
Yeah.
and Cochran.
Yeah, it goes. I forget. I'm so sorry. It was very sexist against the women, though. It was like basically presented to the men, and then it said, Brains, Braun, Sherry, and Dawn, or something like that.
Oh,
And like
nice.
it showed Cochran as Brains, Eddie as Braun, and then it showed Sherry and Dawn. And it's like, what?
They just wanted the rhyme.
The rhyme was good, but it was definitely biased towards, the brains and the brawn.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you think about Sherry and Dawn? That they don't have brains or brawn, I guess.
They're just Sherry and Dawn.
They're just Sherry and Dawn. And
I do think other moves, though, like with Cochran, Andrea blindside, like he votes for Eddie there, but like he's very much in control of why Andrea is going home there.
Mm-hmm.
The Brenda 3-2-1 vote out because they knew Eddie was going to vote for Eric. And so then it was able to just be him, Dawn, and Sherry who made sure Brenda went home. Cochran has a lot of really good moves late in the game. And it's like that's when he takes control. So yeah, where was he ranked on the ranking for you guys?
That's a good question. Where do you so for context, JT was 9th. Where do you think Cochran falls out of 50?
So this is what's hard for me. I think Cochran is so unbelievably hated on the internet, but I think in real life people like him more. So I don't know if you have like a big time internet fan base. Obviously you're on the internet, but I don't know if your fan base is just strictly people who are like always on Reddit. They used to be on Sucks. They're doing all this.
They did fill out a form answering questions about 50 winners. So
yeah. Okay. So I'm going to say 21.
Not quite. He's 14th.
So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Right below D and right above Richard Hatch.
Okay.
I don't think he's worse than D. I think he should be above D. Better than Richard, of course. I mean, Cochran had a perfect game. Like me, that's a top 10 winner. Just strictly based on that. But I do agree that unlike JT, who came into a game fresh and had to create his own perfect game, Cochran came into a season that was definitely in favor of the favorites. And then the favorites weren't even that well cast. So it's definitely, if it's the weaker cast and he does know some people, it's like, I can't rank him above JT any day of the week. JT's always above him, but gotta be top 10. Like, it doesn't matter what season we're on. Like, it's only happened twice, and this is the last time it happened.
Yeah. For me, whenever I get these like split seasons, I kind of do rank the winners a little bit lower, but it's funny you mentioned D and Cochran. I just looked at my own rankings, and obviously we haven't gotten a Cochran yet. But I have Cochran ranked 1 spot ahead of D in my rankings.
Okay.
So it's funny that's where your fans were at too.
I'm trying to think. D's game of 45 is not better than Cochran's game on 26, and that's where it has nothing to do with their other seasons. I don't count South Pacific. I don't count 50. Like strictly winning games, I think Cochran's a better winner than D. But then that puts him below Ethan. It's like, is he better than Ethan?
We just ranked Ethan 39th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, and then the Caramoan in the season, where do you think it falls out of 50?
38.
Close. 37. You were right there. Right above 43 and right below Game Changers.
Man, people got to rewatch Game Changers and realize that one stinks. I'm like halfway through Game Changers. I hate
it's
that
a hard
season.
Watch. Yeah.
Oh my God, man. It does not get better.
The fact that the episodes are only 43 minutes and you're like, these could have been shorter. It says a lot.
Really rough. It's really rough.
Whereas when I'm rewatching Winners at War, I legit am like, all these episodes could be 90 minutes easy.
Yeah.
And I know the season wouldn't be better for it. Maybe it would be. But like Winners of War, I'm like, almost every episode could be longer and would be better for it. But then while I'm watching Game Changers, I think the opposite. I'm like, these could have been shorter.
Yeah.
Like, most of these are like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. I actually like Caramoan quite a bit. I think down the stretch, it gets really good towards the end. Cochran becomes like an obvious win, but I do feel like there's some good blind sides. I think the post-merge of this season is really, really, really good. I think the pre-merge is bad, but I think the post-merge gets really, really exciting. Out of the first 33 seasons, I have it ranked, let me see, 33, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22. I have it ranked 21st out of the first 33 seasons. So, and I don't like the new era. So honestly, this is probably going to end up in right around my top half of seasons, which even surprised me when I was rewatching. But I think the second half of the season is phenomenal.
I also got to mention, I think so they moved to a new location of Philippines. This is the second time they're there. I think they're in a different part of the Philippines, Phil, for 27 and 28 than they are for 25 and 26.
I
for
think
those
so.
who care about the locations. But this is the exact year. This is the exact time frame when Jeff's like, our budget's going down. Eventually, we're gonna have to just pick a place and just stick there. So the writing was on the wall at this time with Caramoan, though we're not quite there yet. But yeah. Worth mentioning, Caramoan, yes, first half of the season, I actually enjoy it, but only because of the drama. I don't enjoy that Brandon did what he did or had what happened, but like it's hard to deny that they still made entertaining episodes out of what should have been there's nothing else really going on. To check in with the fans, just like Sherry and Shamar, and it's just like, yeah. And then you go over
Reynolds electric in my eyes, man. I love Reynolds.
And then you go over to the favorites, and it's like Brandon and Phillip. So, and I agree with you. The second half season, like strategically, second half season is so much better.
Yeah,
there's actual like gameplay happening that you want to watch.
Because the first half, the problem with Caramoan is you start off with Francesca going, which is like, we got the meme before memes existed, and then you lose
Hope and Allie at this time.
Yeah,
the same as today.
You lose Hope and Allie, who nobody cares. Laura would have been a good strategist, but she had no physical game. They do the swap, and that's not good. You have the quit from Shamar. You have the quit from Brandon. I mean, you're going into the merge like, what the hell has happened on this season?
Brandon didn't quit, but
they weren't letting him go back to the island. It's a quit. Like he's being pulled from the game. And I love, I know we got to get off this season, but one of my favorite moments in the history of the show, and I didn't realize this until I just rewatched, but when they are like, Jeff is doing everything he can to keep Brandon under control, and Reynolds from the other mat is just trolling the shit out of Brandon. He is like, oh, so we win? We're winners? Are we going to win? This is awesome.
Can you raise your hands and say that we won, Jeff?
Oh, my God. It is so incredible how Reynolds does that, and I absolutely love it.
Jeff said he would do it, by the way, and he never did it, Phil. He never did it.
Well, because Jeff was really concerned that Brandon was actually going to harm somebody at that.
Yeah.
So
I don't even know why they left it in the show that he agreed that he doesn't do it. So anyways, yes, we do definitely need to move on to Blood versus Water, though.
Yes, so let's do that. Tyson, what's up, man? All right, so Tyson, back-to-back seasons of half returning players, half newbies. The much more competitive season is here with Blood versus Water.
This is like fans versus favorites 3 to me.
It's fans versus favorites 3, except we didn't have any favorites, but we had a lot of fans, and that was the difference. I actually think this was the first time that they actually cast people who cared about Survivor as the favorites. And obviously it's Blood versus Water, but like Hayden Moss might not be a big Survivor fan, but Hayden is a great casting choice and understands how these games work. That's more of what I'm getting at. Sierra, phenomenal casting choice. If you actually look at it with a lot of the people they cast, why are Monica, Kat, and Laura Moret on this season? Because their loved ones are phenomenal TV who are going to bring it nonstop. And that's what was awesome. And then you look at somebody like Tyson, Rachel, probably one of the bigger duds of this cast, but it's Tyson that's coming back. So that's okay. And so I do think that this is the best cast out of any of these 50-50 casts. And it is an insanely competitive season. And Tyson has to do quite a bit towards the end of this game to ensure he's going to get that win over Monica and Jervis.
This season is indicative of the casting philosophy at the time, which was it's okay to cast duds or cannon fodder because we have enough people that we know will make it far because of the cannon fodder. It's okay. We're banking the season on the hits and letting the cannon fodder be the cannon fodder. The only time I think it doesn't work this season is when Rupert leaves for Laura.
Yes.
When that happens, that is the only time that it shows the cracks in this casting philosophy. Otherwise, I'm with you. Like the casting nails it. I don't know how the cast was put together last season. I don't know what happened there because then they immediately do this. And also Philippines was a hit. So I don't know. So I do know that I agree with you. Like that, like this is when the casting shines is like, oh, okay, the hits are better than the cannon fodder, and the cannon fodder goes out where they should. Hate to call people cannon fodder, but that's what they were cast to be.
Well,
a lot of these players.
And exactly. And you think about it, like you're going to get Tina on this season. Okay, so we'll bring Katie in. That's fine.
Yeah.
You're getting your season 2 winner back on the show. And
right.
she almost
we hadn't
wins it
really seen her
again.
play since season 2 because All Stars was she didn't do nothing.
She was. Yeah, Jenna had her agenda there. I mean, you're getting Jervis, and yeah, Marissa actually probably would have been great TV had Marissa lasted
I
a little
agree.
bit longer.
Marissa had personality,
but Jervis also like getting him and him just like getting in everybody's faces and that being the reason for the vote out. John Cody is amazing on this season. Caleb starts off really strong. He disappears halfway through, but he starts off really, really strong. They did a great job casting this season, and I love this season. I don't really like San Juan del Sur. I think San Juan del Sur is a bore, and I think the internet overrates it. But I really love this first iteration. I think they really clicked here. And I think what was so interesting about this season, it was something we hadn't seen before, was the strategy from the one tribe was if we vote out Rachel, maybe Tyson will step in for her. And this was a strategy we've never seen. Yeah. And it was really fascinating to see Tyson do that and see Tyson, his mindset changed on a dime when Rachel got voted out because he was a goof and token Cheens who wanted to have control, but was more focused on being entertaining. Yeah. In Heroes versus Villains, he was not coming out there to win the game. I don't care.
No, he was not serious.
And on this season, he wasn't serious early on. It was very much like, I'm going to come out. I'm going to still be Tyson. And as soon as Rachel went out, all of a sudden you start getting confessionals of him being like, I'm just kind of throwing Aris under the bus without Aris even realizing I'm throwing him under the bus. He's just phenomenal on this season. I think he does a phenomenal job.
And yeah, when Rachel's voted off and he doesn't know it yet, they're still doing scenes of Tyson just being goofy. And he's like, oh yeah, it's Aris. It's not a real belt. It's not a cupcake. It's not a cupcake, Aris. It's just a belt. You can't eat it. Like that scene happens after Rachel voted off, but before he knows. But you're right. As soon as Rachel's revealed to him to be voted off, Tyson finally clicks into gear. He's like, I'm here to win this game. Finally. It's crazy, by the way. He's such great casting that we don't mind that it took 2 seasons and 3 episodes for him to finally take Survivor seriously. But that's how long it takes. I mean, a Winners of War, he's there to win again. But it really was the elimination of Rachel, seemingly insignificant, as a boot. But holy crap, does it completely change Tyson? And as a result, makes this season go a different direction than it would have had Rachel made the merge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because once that happens, he's now playing for her and him. It's no longer she can win. And it's if she's going to get voted out and I'm not going to step in for her, I need to make sure it's worthwhile. And he does. He makes sure it's worthwhile. And he does a great job. I mean, I love this game from him. I always rank it a little bit lower just because it is his 3rd time playing. And he is definitely, out of all of the returning players, he's by far one of the best players out there. I mean, this is a guy who was on Heroes versus Villains. If you look at it like Rupert, very much more of a character than a player. Obviously, Colton is nothing. Kat is nothing. Aris, a winner, but a winner where you always felt, was he as good as you thought? Laura Moret, we didn't know why she was on this season. Tina, a winner, but not as threatening, I don't think, as Tyson, because I don't think she was as top of mind. So for me, I always go a little bit lower just because it is his 3rd time. He is playing against a bunch of people who are first timers, and I don't find the returning players to be as captivating. But man, when you start getting down to that end game with him and Hayden and Sierra, that end game is crazy. And it is so well handled by Tyson the whole time.
Yeah, Tyson's the only player to ever win on their 3rd time playing. No one else has ever done it. Everyone else has either won on their 1st, 2nd, or 4th.
Tony won on his 3rd, though.
Sorry, Tony had already won. I meant Tyson. You're right. He did win his 3rd time. I meant that Tyson's win came on his 3rd time. But you were correct. Like, technically, Tony did. Tony had already won. I mean, everyone already won that season. But, yeah. Tyson's the only player who hadn't won and then won in the 3rd season. Everyone else was 1st, 2nd, or 4th.
That's interesting.
Nobody's ever won on their 5th either, as far as I know. I think we've only had like Ozzy, Suri, and Boston Rob. Boston Rob won on his 4th, but Suri nor Ozzy have won. So like nobody's won their 5th, nobody's won on the 3rd aside from Tyson. Tyson's by himself doing that. But yes, technically Tony did win on his 3rd. He just had already won. Sorry, that was a good call. Tyson, I think Tyson. There's a lot of things you'd qualify as worst moves. Like he actually plays a very safe game. When you look at the numbers, like he just builds an alliance of singles, gets rid of couples, and then takes those singles to the end, finding his best buddy in Jervis, and then dragging Monica the goat to the end. A very loyal goat. which is very valuable as an alliance member, just not going to win the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, that fight against Hayden and Sierra, who voted off her own mother. I don't know if you knew that. She voted off her own mom. Who would have guessed? And I bet you, Phil, that Blood versus Water doesn't return until Boston Rob and his daughter are on the show, and then his daughter votes him off, because Boston Rob would 1,000% make that happen to make his daughter a Survivor legend.
And he could be crying and be like, I love this game so much. I played this 35 years ago, but my daughter, I looked her in the eye and I said, vote me out.
Sacrifice myself for my daughter, Jeff.
That's all. I mean, it's already been written. We need to remember doing this at this time, so that in like 5 to 10 years, when this happens, we can go back and just clip this.
I have videos. I have talked about this in many videos for many years. I'm like, that's when Blood vs. Water 3 is going to happen, because they were wanting Rob back for 50. Yeah. Like, what do you need Rob back for 50 for? They're asking back for 50. He said no, and I'm like, yeah, because he's waiting to do one with his daughter, obviously. But Jeff asks him every chance he gets. That's when he's going to get him back. Hey, what if we get you and your daughter on? We do some sort of, I don't know what they would call it, legacy season. I don't even know what they would call it, because how many children are old enough to play?
That's when we're going to get Russell and Brandon Hance back.
I rewatched Winners at War, and when they did the family visit, Jeff said, "Oh, all you kids are future Survivor players." I'm like, the seeds are always planted in advance with Jeff. He always, not always, but like most time you can see things coming, and I see like, oh, children of Survivor players. It's going to happen. Will it be Blood versus Water? I don't know. I think that's the way to do it.
Can I throw a random name in the ring for this?
Yeah, go ahead.
At 41 minutes of this podcast, where pretty much everybody else is watching the Big Brother premiere, I want Brendan Shapiro and his son to make it onto that cast. I want it. That's what I want, Wes.
Brandon Shapiro. Who's Brandon Shapiro? Is that from Ghost Island?
Yeah, Brandon Shapiro from Ghost Island.
Why? Why him?
Because he has everything it takes to be a Survivor winner, and just ended up on the wrong season. And he was on that Malolo tribe, and had Malolo not been the tribe that stunk, and had it been Navidi, that season's good. But Navidi was such a boring ass tribe that the whole season's garbage. So yeah, I want to see Brendan Shapiro play again.
If they haven't brought back Dom Abate and Chris Noble, they're not bringing back Brandon Shapiro. Those other two are to be called before Brandon.
I'm just saying for Blood versus Water. Chris Noble, I don't know who Chris Noble's playing with, but I'm just saying if this was going to happen.
Yeah.
So
Tyson.
Go ahead, says, remind me why they hated Monica so much. Was Tyson not also very disliked? Monica could have been Natalie White with that strategy. What's funny is Monica says at the end, have you all just never met a neat lady? And she says neat. And that's the part that always cracks me up, is that she says neat lady.
She's genuine. That she means it.
She does. And it like breaks her heart that other people don't like her as much as she thinks they should. It really bothers her. And I do feel bad for Monica, but they never felt that Monica had control. Daryl Seymour says that here. They felt that she was being dragged. And what's funny is I don't necessarily think she was. Like, she votes the same way as Tyson at every tribal council. But like, I kind of understand where Monica's coming from, of why is it so bad that I did it, but it's not so bad that Tyson did it. I think at the end of the day, people just like Tyson more. And that's like, Tyson's a very, very charming, likable guy. There's a reason why he's been on so many shows, why he is a successful podcaster. Now I could argue he's the most successful podcaster. You could argue that he's more successful than Rob.
Rob's on Netflix.
Rob is Rob actually on Netflix, or he just on Netflix for Evan Ross?
Oh no, it's all over my Instagram. Like, Rob's on Netflix doing some sort of Netflix show.
Well, no, he was on Evan Ross Katz podcast. It wasn't Rob's podcast.
Oh, I thought Rob was part of a show like permanently. I don't think so. Up too much, I guess.
I think he was a guest on Evan Ross Katz podcast on Netflix.
But Rob launched Tyson.
That is true, but now Tyson, exactly. But now Tyson is, gallivanting on Spotify and on the Ringer, and I think Tyson's. I mean, their numbers are crazy right now.
Spotify's pushing Tyson's podcast for sure, and good.
That is what's happening. That's why we're getting buried.
I'm all over. Hey, good for him. Good for him. I will say it. So Tyson's worst move this season, Phil. What is his worst move?
Tyson's worst move on this season, honestly, probably going to Rocks.
Letting that happen because he had an idol.
He did have an idol, and it was at Final 6. And it's very weird that he lets it get there because he's drawing a rock. And I know some people, like, the feeling is, because he had Redemption Island, he could win his way back in. So it's not as threatening. But I do wonder, why was he willing to even put himself in that position? Because I think he has an idol at that moment. And if he does have an idol at that moment,
he does. He has an idol.
You are sure. Okay. So
Yeah.
like, why not just play it and ensure that Katie goes home or Hayden goes home or whatever, because then you have a 3-2 advantage at the next tribal, no matter what. And then who cares who comes back into the game? They might see you as a threat, but they can't give up their numbers. So I think going to rocks there is definitely his worst move. But I think he has so many great moves throughout. I think Aris is his best move, since that's going to be your next question.
Yes, actually I agree with you. I think the Aris move, of course, that was already the plan, was to eliminate couples, separate couples, but I really do think that Aris move kind of sets the stage for what's going to happen the rest of the post-merge game. Though, I mean, getting out Sierra's mom, no. Laura comes back in with the merge. They do let her live for a little bit, but unlike Ozzy and unlike Matt, Laura, in my mind, was never a threat to win this game. I think Matt, there's a scenario where Matt gets the end of Redemption Island and wins. There's a scenario, obviously, where Ozzy gets back and wins. That one's more obvious. I don't think Laura had the social game, and you see it in Samoa as well, to pull it off. So I get why they don't immediately eliminate her.
How many votes she got against herself this season?
Oh, Laura? I think
it's 19.
I believe that, yeah.
I think it's 19 because she gets voted out 7-1 twice.
Yeah. And then she saves Tina in a challenge. She helps. Vetus feels really burned when Laura helps Tina beat Vetus. But also good for Laura and Tina. Like, work together if you can. Tina goes in and re-enter the game, beat Laura, and Tina, of course, you have to get rid of her right away. And it's like more proof in the pudding. You cannot let these people get back in the game, go to the end. Tina's more obvious, though, because she's a past winner. And, of course, she wasn't in Tyson's alliance.
And this is why I don't like Redemption Island in the second half of the game. Redemption Island for the first half of the game, I'm okay with, if you're going to let everybody know it's coming. But the second half of the game, Redemption Island, like Tina being able to come back at 5 and then she wins 1 immunity, and now Tina sitting at Final 4 is crazy.
Yeah. Also, I'm with you, Phil. I think if the open air decides to bring back Redemption Island or Edge of Extinction, and it seems like, I mean, I don't know exactly. We haven't watched 51 or 52 yet, not to date this, but we haven't. It's interesting to me and wondering to me, like, are they going to be more loosey-goosey with how they implement advantages and twists? Because if they do, I'm with you. Do Outcast twists, do Redemption Island, do Edge of Extinction, but stop it at the merge. Yeah. Like, let it just be the first half of the season, and it's not the season long. Because I feel like when they commit to the theme, for some reason they think this has to go through the finale, but they've created a twist that doesn't really work going through the finale. It only works the first half of the season. This Redemption Island is fantastic. The first half of the season, so much content, so much drama out of Redemption Island the first half. Second half, Redemption Island's kind of just like, it exists. Doesn't really add to the season, though. And I feel like the same with the other seasons as well, with Edge and Redemption Island. Like, it doesn't, like, on Winners of War, they force advantages in the game, but, like, it's not natural. It's not the players interacting. Like, the extortion advantage on Tony, for example, like, that was post-merge, but, like, that's Survivor forcing stuff. Whereas I think all the good natural stuff happens in the first half of the season when it comes to these twists. So I hope the open air, if they bring any of this back, it's only through the merge.
No, I totally agree with you. All right, so what else about Tyson here before we move on to Tony? Because I mean, we haven't. Go ahead.
You want to talk about how many votes he is off? Because he's not off by many.
I guess because he doesn't get votes in the game, right? Because the rock draw is the closest he is to going home.
3 votes. He misses a perfect game by, and one of those votes goes to Jervis at Final Tribal, so he only misses it by 2.
Oh, 2 votes. Monica gets Vetus.
Oh, sorry, Monica. Yeah, because they didn't want Jervis to get. Sorry, I forgot. Vetus threw it on Monica. I thought he threw on Jervis. Yeah, mixed up there. I just remember that he threw it on somebody so that Jervis got 3rd. Is what happened. Mm-hmm. I'm looking back at Blood versus Water, seeing who voted for him. He gets a vote from Vetus when Vetus goes. He gets a vote from Tina when Tina goes. But, like, that's it. They're stray votes. There's no unified effort. And he does win individual immunity twice at the end, which is crucial to stopping a comeback for Sierra and Tina.
He wins immunity. I think that's what's also interesting is, like, he doesn't win immunity necessarily to save himself. He wins immunity to keep his alliance in the power and ensure that the other people can't have, like, this hanging on longer than they should situation.
Right. It's perfectly timed immunities. It was fun seeing. I really like when we see people come back and they change. Tyson looked like he was going to do the same shtick, but Rachel going, like, it makes for a less fun character game. But it's like, oh, Tyson can play Survivor. Like, he can play Survivor, and which is an interesting twist after 2 seasons and 3 episodes of Tyson just goofing off and making jokes. I love Tyson cracking jokes, but it was fun to see him actually play Survivor and be successful at it. Yeah. Where do you think he ranks as a winner? Remembering that character is a part of the rankings, Phil.
Yeah, I'm going to say 8.
Very close again, 7. Okay. 7. Right below Todd. One stop below Todd. And the season itself, where do you think it falls out of 50?
I think it should be in the top 20. I'm going to say 16, but I could see it being lower.
12.
Oh, wow. Okay, so your audience is actually a good audience. How do we get your audience on our channel?
That's what I'm here for. They're right below Exile Island and one step above 46. I personally like 46 more than both those seasons, but I'm a sucker for 46. 46 is the one New Era season. I'm like, this could have been a pre-New Era and worked fantastic too.
That's high for Panama.
Yeah, Exile Island Panama is ranked. It's ranked pretty high at 11th.
That's high. Good season, but I just think it's high.
I think Blood versus Water though, it's a good season. It really helps. I think Hayden, for me, it's like Hayden creates a worthy opponent to whoever is going to win, in this case Tyson. That I don't know if the show that was their intention, but like why didn't they cast any more Big Brother winners in the future? Hayden is fantastic.
They tried with Caleb, but he wasn't a winner, but they tried with Caleb and that kind of failed.
No, I mean bring a winner on, but like on a season like this, it works because the winner has experience being on a CBS show, being a strategy show. It's almost like a season of Big Brother winners versus Survivor winners would be fantastic TV. Mm-hmm. Like, holy crap. It is on Survivor, so therefore Survivors have edge. But it would just be fantastic TV to see that. And that on Big Brother as well. I would actually watch Big Brother again if they put on like a Legends Survivor cast versus like
not just Devins and D.
Right, not Devins and D is not enough for me to actively tune in live and watch those episodes. I'm gonna have to. I will. Maybe I'll watch them later. I'm sure I will, but like I'm not. It's not must see TV. It's must see if they do half and half, like a versus season. It's on funny both shows, by the way, would be fun.
It's funny. The only show they ever did that with was The Amazing Race.
Yes, and that was one of the best Amazing Race seasons ever. I love Amazing Race. Thanks for bringing it up, Phil. I almost forgot.
Yeah, I brought it up. I let you get to almost an hour, and I wanted to see if you would say it. But it is funny that's the only season they did it on. It
worked like a charm for those wondering. It was one of the best Amazing Race seasons.
And who had the edge, though, Wes?
Of course, Amazing Race players. Yeah. I mean, there's no social strategy that like it doesn't go deep enough on Amazing Race for social strategy. Like there was like one moment that it mattered, and that was it. The Amazing Race is more about the adventure and the racing. So I do hope, Phil, I'm sure I've said this before, but I really hope season 40 of Amazing Race is all winners. Don't know. They haven't cast or filmed it yet, but I'm hoping that they do the Survivor and do all winners. It's about time. They have not done it yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is crazy. Well,
that's Blood versus Water.
That's Tyson. All right.
Yeah.
That means we're moving on to Tony. And it's Tony 1.0, Cagayan Tony, who is a lion. He is not a hyena. He plays an aggressive game from day one. And I think that's why people took to Tony so much. And I think that's why people were so excited when he did end up winning season 40, was because we were in this stretch of Survivor seasons of, and I'm going to go back a little bit here, but Natalie White, Sandra, Fabio, Boston Rob, always in control, but also just terrible season. Sophie, Kim, always in control, terrible season. Denise, who's more under the radar, Cochran, who's more under the radar, Tyson, who's more under the radar.
It's hard to name a season with a controlling winner and a good season, Phil. I think that's what you're saying.
And we get Tony on Cagayan. Yeah. And it really works here. And this is such a great cast, and they did such a good job of putting personalities that clash against each other. And Tony plays this crazy aggressive game that you almost didn't think was possible to play to win Survivor. I remember when it came out, Wes, I don't know how you felt, but I remember when it came out, my family and I and like a couple family friends, we used to do this thing where you'd pick one man and one woman, and we would do it as a draft.
Sure.
And we'd do pick one man, pick one woman. So there were 9 of us. Tony was the last pick of that draft because we all thought Tony was just going to be another Russell. He was just going to be a knucklehead who was going to cause a lot of drama and get voted out. He was kind of an ass in his preseason interviews.
His preseason interviews, Phil, he said they made a mistake casting me. They put me a shark into a lake of minnows or a pond of minnows. I've always said it, maybe in a fish tank of minnows. Like, Tony called his shot. He ended up being right.
Which is crazy, though, because when you hear that back in 2014, you're like, this guy's an idiot. This guy's a clown.
He hasn't played a day yet. What is he talking about?
And he was the first ballot Hall of Famer. I know for all of the people when Gordon Holmes used to do when he was with Xfinity, he used to do like the Survivor Hall of Fame. He was the only person who was a one-time player who got in, and he got in like right after his first season because it was just such an insane game.
Yeah. Tony, so I know, Phil, I think last time, this is one of those few things I remember from last time we talked, meaning last time we did this series. We talked, obviously, since then. But last time we did the series, I remember you saying that Tony's win was not obvious. This is one of the seasons I did as part of my binge to catch up after Game Changers when I did all the catching up. Unfortunately, that meant that I knew Tony had won because I saw the match. All I knew was Game Changers, though. So I don't even know if I fully remembered that he won, like if it was the same guy, because he goes out in episode 1 of Game Changers. I think that's right. Yeah, second boot.
Yeah, because they do a 2-hour double boot for the first episode of Game Changers.
Yeah. So in the back of my mind, I guess it was there, but I didn't remember watching Cagayan that he won. But when I'm watching the season, I'm like, he's getting so much screen time. It's an insane amount of screen time. I'm like, he has to win. Like he didn't come across the same way as Russell. Like he was chaotic. But like I was looking at the rest of the cast and I'm like, okay, who beats Tony? Who beats Tony? Spencer. I was rooting for Spencer.
That's what everybody thought. And Spencer. That's why
the moment Spencer goes, I'm like, Tony's won. It can't be anyone else.
4.
What's that? Oh, I know. That's so deep in the season. I'm aware. I'm not saying I called my
that's
shot
the
early.
finale.
I'm not saying I called my shot early. I know.
and that's what I'm saying is like Tony might seem obvious because he's getting so many confessionals, but you have to remember this is coming only 4 or 5 years after us watching back-to-back seasons of the Russell Hantz show.
Yeah.
And he loses. And so when you're watching this season, I remember at the reunion, Tyler Perry even says like, because of the Tyler Perry edit, he's like, I wanted Spencer to get that. And the whole crowd goes nuts because everybody was rooting for Spencer at that time, which is crazy in retrospect. Because in my opinion, like Tony, infinitely more interesting as a character, a player, everything. But
Spencer had the underdog story and people love to root for an underdog.
And that's where people thought this was going. They thought Tony's getting all the screen time. He's a hog. He's super entertaining, but eventually he's going to get got. And that's why when Wu wins the final immunity challenge, everybody's like, oh God, it's going to be Wu versus Cass, and we're watching it all over again because we had seen this kind of edit before, right? It could have been the Rob Cesternino edit. You know, Rob Cesternino, Russell, any of those people where they eat up a lot of screen time and then ultimately just fall a little bit short.
Yeah.
So it really isn't until Wu writes Cass's name on that parchment where you go, oh my God, Tony just won this game. How the hell did that happen? I think Cagayan is such a perfect season, but Tony plays such an incredible game.
I gotta say, so Tony's best move, there's a lot of moves you could say is worse. He made a lot of bad moves. It was always like 2 steps forward, 1 step back with Tony on everything he did. His best move, I know a lot of people say it's convincing Wu. And like, yes, like maybe that's the second best move. I think his best move was pretending his super idol lasted longer than it did, which of course is where RizGod got his. He didn't say Tony, but I'm sure it's where he got his idea from on 50. Basically or on 49, sorry, to lie about when his idol was good until, except he did the opposite. He said it ends earlier, but Tony says it lasts till this point and nobody could fact check him. So it just worked. Tony didn't know surprise final 2. So he still had to, survive what I think he said it worked through 5. So he still had to survive 2 more votes, but it almost sounded like Tony's like, I only got to survive 1 vote, which wasn't true. They actually, I think this season, I know the super idol hasn't returned since then. They ended wrong. I think that's the best version of it. Yeah. But this season, I'm like, stopping a final 6 when you had a final 2, I'm like, that to me is fair. I know Super Idol's not inherently fair, but like that's a lot of votes that you still have to survive without the Super Idol. I almost think
you still have to go through 3 votes. I mean, you still have to go through 5, 4, and 3.
If the open air brings back the Super Idol, or in my opinion, the wrong Super Idol is the better way of doing it. Make it stop at like 7 or 6, and I'm like, that's fine. Actually, that's a really good advantage, but it doesn't get you to the end. You don't just have the win like Yule or like Terry Dietz almost did just because of Super Idol.
Well, and that's what's so fascinating about Tony's game here is like that lie sets Tony up so unbelievably well
Mm-hmm.
because towards the end of the game, they're going, well, we can't vote for Tony. Well, we can't vote for Tony. Well,
Yeah.
we can't vote for Tony.
His idol's
And I
good
mean,
through 5.
yeah, they think. Well, I think he lies and says he can use it till 4. I think that's what he says.
Does he? I thought it was through 5.
I forget
because
exactly.
Only good through 6. I can double check this.
Yeah, look it up. He was saying that he had both idols at Final 5, and he was saying that he could use the other one at Final 4. He was saying that he could use the
regular idol. Gosh, it's been a while since I've watched Cochran.
Yeah, so that I agree with you that's his best move. I don't think that voting out Sarah is a great move. Voting out LJ is a great move. In retrospect, voting out Jeffra is a great move. But I do think it is that of that lie. That's what sets him up because they always feel like they can't get rid of him.
Tony plays the regular idol at the Trish vote, which is 5. What? That's 5. Okay. So he had the regular idol good through 5. Maybe you're right. Maybe he lies that his super idol's good through 4.
And that's why he's able to pull off the lie too, because he burns that idol because it's the last time he can use it anyway, but it's laying on thick. Oh. Look, I'm using this because then I get it at 4.
No, yeah, you're right. I'm looking at it. So I got mixed up. I do think that I think the idea it stops at 6 is still good. That's not how they did it this season. They stopped it at 5. He lied. That was through 4, like you said.
Yeah.
So, which of course makes it sound 1 vote better, which is basically what Rizgot did with his idol, but saying it the other way on 49. Yeah, and he had the regular idol that he played at the Trish vote that he didn't need to, but I think it actually expired there, so he had to play it.
That one did expire there, but it was also his way of being like, oh, yeah, it's expiring, but I still have this other one, and I'm going to prove that I'm willing to get rid of this one. What's also really funny is Tony doesn't win either of the last 2 immunity challenges, but going into that Final 4 vote, Spencer and Cass are like, well, we can't vote for Tony.
Yep. And then the Winners at War, Tony somehow wins 4 immunities.
I know. I know. After what did he win on this season? Just 1, right?
He won no individual.
Oh, he didn't win any.
No. He got close. I think he got second a couple times, like Wu or whoever, but he never wins an individual immunity this season, which I think makes his win more impressive because he is just flip-flopping every other vote. He votes with his alliance, but all the other in-between votes are with not his alliance. And he's always able to justify it in his own chaotic Tony way. And people just have to accept it. They don't have an option, I guess. They have to accept Tony's chaos.
Yeah. Well, and what's so fascinating, because we didn't really get to talk about this with Cochran and Tyson because they were returning players and they're on half and half seasons. But when you think we like to have the discussion of could this type of game win again? And the way that Survivor is now structured and the way that it became structured in the mid 30s, you can't play the Tony type of game because there's too many landmines for you to step on throughout. Tony was able to actually make plans and say, you know what? I'm getting rid of Sarah here. We'll get rid of Morgan next. Now I'm going to blindside LJ. Now I'm going to blindside Jeremiah. Now I'm going to blindside Jeffra. Like when you look at that boot order, you say, oh, all the beauties go back to back to back to back. Yeah, but it's all blindsides. It's not, none of them actually know that they're going home when they go home.
Right.
Because Tony's going back and forth. Spencer's even going back and forth. Like there's a lot of really dynamic gameplay on this season. But the way that the show is now designed, you have to play the way Aubrey played in 50. You can't play the way Tony played.
You have to be a hyena because the game is too, they say unpredictable. And I guess on 50, it really was unpredictable. I'll give them that. Like, I wouldn't have predicted half the nonsense they threw at them. But the other 9 new era seasons were actually super predictable by 49. 41, I'll give people who played 41 through 44, like, okay, mostly unpredictable because that was all new. By the time it's 49, it's like, it's the same old crap every season. It's just the same crap. It's like people act shocked, but it's the same thing again and again. I'm with you, Phil. I think that the show's like, we got to make it so dangerous. The more unpredictable it is, the better the show. But it's like, it just encourages people to not do anything because they're like, I don't know what's coming. So why go take the risk here? You know, Survivor wants them to take risks, but then Survivor doesn't set them up with that because they don't know what's coming up. Big Brother, I know, has this problem. I've seen a lot of fans say that where Big Brother will throw crap at them so that people just sit on their hands. I've seen enough Big Brother seasons to know that's the case as well. So here's why I give praise to The Amazing Race. Amazing Race does not do this. The Amazing Race, if they throw a twist at them, they tell them at the beginning of the leg, hey, heads up, this leg we're doing X. Like, this leg we're doing X. Like, Okay, so now I can like at least prepare during like to make a move or not to make a move. Like, what am I going to do with the yield, with the U-turn, whatever. That's one thing where I think that show gets it right. And it's like I don't know how that would work in Survivor. Like, could you? Okay, coming up, we're going to be doing X. Like, I don't know if they can do that. Doesn't really fit within how the show works, I guess. But if they want people to like play more aggressively, just put idols in the game. That's how you get aggressive gameplay. Like, that's it. You just put idols in there. You do other nonsense. It makes people go, well, I don't know all that's out there. Like, people, when all you know is that there's idols. Maybe there's a super idol, but there's idols. Okay, I can work with that. That's a variable. And the people with idols can play more aggressively. It's usually what happens. When you get the necklace, you play more aggressively. When you get the idol, you play more aggressively. You feel more confident. I don't feel more confident with this steal a vote in my pocket. No. Or, oh no, I'm Colby and I lost my vote. Now Colby's played on a season filmed in 2025, Phil, but still hasn't voted on Survivor since 2009.
Crazy.
Right? How am I supposed to play Survivor when you don't let me vote? So, well, back to your point, this season I think works. Fantastic casting, but also the design of the season worked really well to let them just play the game, but also just enough there. So it encouraged the gameplay that we got.
And I will say, if you think about it, so Cagayan is Cagayan. Natalie Anderson, we'll get to her. We'll get to Mike. I always say Cambodia is the turning point of Survivor, right? That's when Survivor realized the route that they wanted to go, and they wanted it to be this different version. So Wrong, obviously Michelle wins, but that was filmed first. So if you think about all the seasons 33 on, Adam is a hyena. I'm literally just going to go through this right now. So if you guys don't know this, if you guys don't know all these winners and you don't want to hear this, fast forward like 35 seconds.
Don't listen to the winning Survivor series.
That's also a good thing. So Adam's a hyena. Ben is a hyena for sure.
Right? Sarah's a hyena. You skipped
Sarah's a hyena. I skipped Sarah. Wendell is a hyena. Dom is the lion. Wendell's the hyena. Nick Wilson is a hyena. Yep. Chris Underwood maybe is the lion. I have no idea.
No, he's a hyena.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Tommy
he acts
is
like a lion at the end, but he's a hyena.
Yeah, Tommy is purposefully throwing challenges.
He's a hyena.
Tony, the second time, has to play more like a hyena, and he even says that.
But he's a lion on the inside. He knows it, and he wants to let loose.
Yeah. So then we have that. 41, Erica. 42, Marianne. 43, Gabler.
Can I say, Phil?
Jam Jam.
I know I'm interrupting. Erica literally says, I'm going from lamb to lion, like acknowledging that is like, I know it's Erica. Nobody cares about Erica, but like that is the winning formula for most winners is to be a lamb or pretend to be a lamb and then be a lion at the very end.
Yeah. And then you have Jam Jam, D, Kenzie, Rachel, Kyle, Savannah, Aubrey. There is literally no aggressive player. Savannah's probably the closest, and it takes.
I think Savannah and D are the closest of everyone.
See, and D though is very subtle because D gets her alliance, and then she's doing everything behind the scenes. People aren't seeing. Like Tony was in your face all the time, and that Tyson's in your face all the time. Natalie Anderson in the second half of that game is in your face the entire time. You could play. Mike Holloway is in your face. Everybody knew he had to go, and he just keeps winning immunities.
Mike Holloway's a lion.
Yeah. And you go all the way back. Like Tom Westman plays a lion game. Like you could play these lion games and win. And I think that, the show has now said we want more passive winners. We want more passive winners. That's not what they actually want, but that's what they're saying.
Even though when they get them on the island, they tell them play like this is your second time. Like Jeff preaches that, and then he's on his On Fire podcast. By the way, do you think that's going to come back, Phil? I think it's done, personally.
You think it's done?
I think it's done. I think the on hiatus was an excuse for canceling it. Personally, I
hope it's back because
I actually hope it's back too.
I think it's better. Like I always say, competition. It's like you want to put a Wendy's next to a Burger King because if the line at Wendy's is long, you're just going to go to Burger King if you wanted Wendy's. So now Wendy's, Burger King's happy. I feel like having On Fire there, On Fire, Tyson's podcast, your podcast. Obviously, Rob has a podcast. No buffs. All these people, Bryson Wen. I think having more is better because if you like them, you can do it. And like. We got our torch snuffed by somebody who posted on Reddit that our torch was snuffed and that they were no longer listening to us. So, we got to make sure that there's more podcasts so that people can still discover us and all the Redditors don't abandon us now.
I do hope On Fire comes back. I just think the on hiatus, like their reason was because of what the press he was doing, but like all the press was just preseason. Jeff didn't do much during season press. So I'm like, also he said that the episodes are edited 6 weeks in advance, Phil, which means that Jeff, who runs the show, could watch the episode and record his podcast up to 6 weeks in advance. I don't believe that, by the way. I do believe it's 6 weeks in advance, but he acted like they can't change anything because of that. And I'm like, that's not true. Jeff has also said 2 weeks before an episode aired on Edge of Extinction season that they will add the little thing on the bottom telling you what people have in their pocket, which means they can change things. So it's like,
well, and also, if he is watching things 6 weeks in advance, why did he blow the 50 fire making?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, it's crazy as it is. I think the reason the 50 fire making was blown was simply because he wasn't watching the show as it was happening that night. He had so many other things to juggle. So he comes out there thinking it's already been shown and it hadn't been. So like,
oh, that's not Jeff's fault at all, but I just have to throw that out there.
Because why would he be watching the show when, I think that's what I'm saying. I think he's already watched all these episodes. Like he could have done the podcast.
Yeah.
The podcast could have been done. So that's why I think they were getting enough views. I think the views were dipping personally.
I feel like what's crazy though is if you go and look at Apple and like Spotify, I don't know how you're supposed to find all the numbers on Spotify, like the rankings and stuff, right? But on Apple Podcasts, you can find all of like where you're ranking compared. If you go to the TV film thing, like I was really pumped. We were showing up at like 150 this year, 145. I think our highest was like 115 or something. I was like, damn, that's really good. We hadn't been in there in a long time. And then you can see like, we'll get better numbers on YouTube than like Snuff and Torches and no buffs. But then you go look over there on Apple Podcasts and they're ranked higher than you. And Jeff's podcast was always ranked really, really high. Okay. But I don't know if that's strictly based on total view count. I think it's also based on like getting new followers, getting this, getting that, which it would make sense that you get followers for that podcast, but are people actually coming back and listening every time?
So part of this little side tangent, Phil, I'm not on Apple Podcasts. Do they pay you money for putting your podcast on there?
No, not me.
Okay. They don't pay me nothing to put on Spotify, which is always why I put it on there later than YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube pays.
We have a company now that helps us get ads, which if you're listening on Spotify, maybe I'll throw an ad in right now to ruin your life. But like we do have a company that helps us get ads. So we are making some money finally, but that didn't start until right before 50.
Okay.
We were making $0 on the podcast for everybody who's listening on the podcast portion.
To end the tangent, I hope they come back. I just don't think they will. But anyways, if they do, Tony would be a great on fire co-host to tie it all together. He really would be. He's hilarious to listen to. He's got to be super knowledgeable. He's won the game twice, but Tony does not come back for free. He came back in Winners of War for 40K. He said, I need a minimum of 40K so I could put a pool in my house. Tony ain't coming back for free. So anyways,
I love that.
Tony and Kagayan though, fantastic, fun game to watch. So messy, constantly just like ticking people off, but at the same time they work with him because he is likable. It's like his strategy annoyed people, but him as a person people liked is how I felt like watching.
It was it's not quite Tyson, but there's something about Tony that is really likable.
Yes.
Even though he's aggressive, even though he's talking llama, even though he's yelling at people, even though he's getting in people's faces and clapping their hands, he's so authentic that he's likable. And he's not a bully in the way that Russell Hantz is.
No.
And I think that it's a hard thing to understand until like I've never met Tony, but you see Tony going to these events, you hear people talk about Tony, like people love Tony. And I do think that there's a lot going on there. He just happens to be a North Jersey guy who cannot turn it off for anybody. And that's why he's great TV. And that's why he's been on the Traders. He's been on AU versus the World. He's been on Survivor 3 times. It makes sense that he's showing up despite the fact that he's not one of these like perennially on social media guys. He doesn't care about that lifestyle. He's not using this to try to build a platform. He's using this because he likes playing the games and he wants to disappear and go live with his family. He doesn't care. And I just think that is so interesting. And that's why he's able to get the votes at the end and win in dominant fashion over somebody that everybody there probably thinks is a more pleasant person. But I'd rather hang out with Tony than Woo.
Oh yeah. No, I'd rather meet Tony too as well. And that's even if they both were only played Kagayan, I would say that it has nothing to do with it helps the subsequent seasons help. But yeah, it's Tony's so much fun. He's so much fun every season he's on, and just like as a character, it's as I said earlier, I really like when I see people come back and they change and improve. Tony's going to be proof that he comes back on Game Changers basically as a caricature of himself. He's not worth talking about when we talk about Sarah eventually. But when he comes back and wears the war, it's like clearly he has learned and is a different, more mature person, but still Tony. And I love seeing people come back and be better versions of themselves and not just be the same person again.
Which game do you prefer of Tony's? Do you prefer this one or Winners at War?
Oh, for entertainment, this one. But for strategy, Winners at War.
Interesting. I'm really close on them. I actually prefer this one from a strategic standpoint. I think the way he was able to go back and forth on everybody, the fact that nobody knew who he was and he was still able to take such control of the game.
Yeah.
I also think the fact that he was able to overcome like bad idol plays and all that stuff. And I think that lie about the super idol is just one of the all-time great lies. And he's coming up with that on the spot.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't know that there's going to be a super idol. And some people will say that's the only reason he got through. No, Tony used that super idol to his advantage and made it so that people were terrified of him with it. They didn't know exactly what it was. It's not the only reason he got through. He plays an amazing game. I think I rank it in the top 5. Both of his games I put in the top 10, but I do put this one high.
All right. So how many votes is he off from a perfect game, Phil? Do you already know?
I know he has the 1 vote. Wu gets a vote.
Yep.
And then I feel like, does Tony get like, I don't think Tony gets that many votes during the game. What does he get? Like 2 votes, 3 votes?
Believe it or not, he's 6 votes off a perfect game. He gets 5 against him. He gets one against from Spencer during the Tasha vote. But really the big push to get out Tony was when Morgan goes, the pillow herself. When she goes, he gets votes from Jeremiah, Morgan, Spencer, and Tasha. That was the push to get out Tony, was that episode, and it didn't work.
Which is crazy. Yeah, but that was also after they had taken control by voting out Sarah.
Right. But they tried getting out Tony, and it just nope. He held. The thing is, it could have all fallen apart after Sarah, and it did not. Yeah. Tony was not the glue of his alliance, but he did enough. He did enough to keep them together. But he was not. It was not. I think Trish was more glue, as she said. Like, I was calming people down for you. Good for Tony aligning with her. You know.
Yeah.
Good for her as well. She could have, if she had caught his crap, she could have gone further too. I don't think Trish wins though, but
yeah, I don't think Trish wins. I think she has a chance against Tony, but honestly, I think the jury was very annoyed by Trish.
Yeah. Oh, fun fact about Trish, out of all people, she was on Snake in the Grass.
That's so fun. Who was she on with?
I don't know. She was on an episode, I think, with no other survivors. That show was
interesting.
That show was doomed when they decided to have a different cast every episode. Where do you think Tony falls as a winner? His Cagayan game.
5.
3.
Okay. That's where I have it, by the way. I'm going to spoil that for everybody who's listening. I have it as 3 as well.
It's a top 10 win for sure. Where do you think the season falls? It's
2.
Dead on. Yeah, it's at 2.
Just behind Heroes Villains?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. The Survivor can't fall. They could never do a Heroes versus 2. We've talked about this. They just can't. Because they would just never live up to the first one, and they know it. So it says a lot about the show. They're like, we can't live up to our own legacy. All right, well, that's Tony. I think also his final tribal was solid. I don't remember anything bad about it. I think the best final tribal out of the 5 people here for me is between Cochran and Mike Holloway. I think they have between those 2 for best final tribals.
I agree. I actually think they're 2 of, I mean, it's hard with this, but it's like those are both top 10 tribal councils, and we'll get to Mike in just a little bit here. When Mike gets Dan to get back up and say, can I go back and say something? I'm like, oh my God, this guy just demolished this jury. We'll get to Mike in a little bit here.
Yeah, we will.
We got to get somewhere else first.
San Juan del Sur, Blood versus Water 2, the inferior Blood versus Water season. But
make sure everybody knows that.
I think the season is mid for me at best. However, Natalie's winning game is impressive to me because it's not very often you see an aggressive woman win this game. Like one hand, and I'm trying to think like Sandra and Natalie Anderson. I can't think of anyone else top of my head who's an aggressive.
I think Kim is pretty aggressive.
And we did say D and Savannah. Like Savannah definitely is more aggressive. D I think is less aggressive than Savannah. So it's like, again, one hand though. One hand. Who'd you say?
I think who did I say?
I don't know.
Kim. I said Kim. I think Kim is pretty aggressive. Kim's just not negative, but Kim is aggressive.
I'm thinking personality aggressive, I guess. Kim's not an aggressive personality.
You have to understand too, though, Wes. We're in the Jersey era of Survivor right now. Tony's North Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Natalie's North Jersey. Mike Holloway's Texas, so that's okay. Jeremy is a returning player season, and then Michelle is Jersey. So it's like 3 of your 4 winners, if you go chronologically, are Jersey at this point.
The show cannot cast enough people from California and the New York, New Jersey area, Phil. If you look at
from both of those things, why am I not on the show, Wes?
You should be cast on the show because they're looking for you, Phil. Survivor 42's leaked cast so far, everybody. If you look this up on InsideSurvivor.com, I think there's only 7 names released so far, and 3 are from New York and New Jersey. It's like, of course, brother, is anybody going to be from Alaska? I'm crossing my fingers. I hope so. When are we going to get an Alaska representative?
Yeah, I'm happy to see New York, New Jersey coming up more now because New York, New Jersey is still the most aggressive type of personality. And that's what the show so desperately needs in this era. And it's what it so desperately has not had is these like aggressive personalities. I mean, Tony and Natalie are so much fun on TV. Now, here's the one thing I will say with Natalie, because I really recently watched San Juan del Sur. I like Natalie's game. I think the internet has officially overrated Natalie's game to the point of me no longer liking Natalie's game that much. Natalie does nothing for the vast majority of this game. However, let me get the exact number right. From final, 8 on, her game is absolutely perfect. It's really the Alec boot, so it's really final 7.
The last third of the season.
She's great. She's amazing. Like, there's no denying it. Natalie is such a non-factor until Jeremy is voted out. It's crazy. Like, she's a non-factor. And then what's funny is after Jeremy goes, she's still kind of a non-factor in the next episode when Wes goes out with the 2 votes and everything else just happens. Reed goes out after that. What was that? Stick to the plan. Exactly. And so for me, it's like, yes, she tells John, play your idol, and John correctly plays his idol.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Natalie's game to me doesn't pick up until the end. And I understand timing is a lot of it. I just think people, what you realize when you rank the winners, Kim, Sandra, they always end up really close to the top. I think what happens is a lot of the other winners that you rank highly tend to skew men. So I think the internet tries to find like, who's the woman that we can say, no, this is the better winner. And I think they've clinged on to Natalie Anderson. And I think Natalie Anderson, the reason they're able to cling on to her is because her moves down the stretch are so good. I mean, obviously the Jacqueline Idol play, that's going to get her a lot of jury votes. Getting rid of John at the 222 vote, that's going to get her some jury votes. Like, she plays a great game down the stretch that is showy, but I think there's more consistent players on other seasons that play better games than Natalie. But I do think Natalie's game is very impressive. I just think that there's better winners. I also knock Natalie a little bit. She's not as dominant as Kim, and this cast might be as bad as Kim's. And she really did benefit from Nadia going home first. She really benefited from
Nadia would have dragged Natalie down, and I can say that as somebody who watched both their Amazing Race.
So did I.
That bickering they do in the beginning of episode 1, or as long as Nadia's there and they're doing their day 0, secret scene of them bickering the entire time as well. That would have tanked their games if they had reached the merge together or gotten to a tribe swap together. I forget. The season, I think, had tribe swap. If they had gotten together, people would have not put up with those 2 bickering all the time. It's fun on TV, but I just can't see that working on Survivor. One of them had to go. Nadia went. Had Natalie gone, would Nadia have won? I don't know. But yeah, on the Amazing Race, Phil, if you watch your seasons, you saw the first one where the Amazing Race 21, specifically for those wondering, this is a fantastic season. Natalie and Nadia are aggressive all season long. And it's like, it literally is like they put a Survivor team in the midst of a newbie Amazing Race season, like strategically aggressive, taking advantage of other people, stealing money from others, literally taking that double U-turn and making a single U-turn by forcing other people to do their dirty work, Black Widow style, and then getting off clean. And it's like, oh my gosh, like one of the best seasons of Amazing Race ever. And they don't win that season.
Who wins that season?
Spoiler.
Is that the one with
It's not even worth mentioning because I could tell you, but like I don't want to spoil it completely. They don't win the season.
I've watched that season though. Wait, now I'm trying to rack my brain.
You just Google that one, Phil. I
I
don't
am.
want to spoil it just in case somebody wants to watch it. They don't win, and I guess I spoiled that, but like you would have known if they had won and been on Survivor. Like that would have been, they'd be like, we won Amazing Race. They didn't.
And
say
I
that.
found them to be so obnoxious. I really did. I found them to be so obnoxious that I really wasn't a fan of them at all. Oh, that is a good season. I remember that one.
Okay.
That is a great
See?
season.
See,
Looking at the winner, but
season.
I couldn't stand them. And then I watched them the second time. I was so happy when they go out early. And then when they were cast on this, I was like, oh, I don't need this. I do like Natalie more on this season because we don't get the twinny energy. I think the twinny energy is like really bad. And I agree with you. I don't think that if they ever got together, people would have worked with them. And also, look, there's a lot of luck involved in everybody's game. So I'm not going to knock Natalie.
Every winner has it.
A lot of
Tony
luck.
has it, especially. We just talked about him. He had
And
a
we
lot
just
of
talked
luck
about
on
it.
his side.
Natalie goes to one tribal council in the pre-merge. One. It's the Drew vote, so that's a nice, easy one. She ends up, when she does the tribe swap, she ends up with, she doesn't end up with the pairs. But when she starts playing the game in the second half of the game, once Jeremy's gone, it's like, okay, where do I pivot to? I'm going to go with Missy and Baylor, who have no idea how to play Survivor. And I'm going to go with Jacqueline and John, who, yes, they're going to control the game, but at the end of the day, they also have no idea how to play Survivor. And Natalie, having the experience of playing a reality TV show twice at this point, was so massive for her. And she's going up. It's not like Boston Rob levels, okay? I'm not going to get to that. But I almost look at this as another returning player win, because Natalie had such an advantage having played on another TV show coming into this, because the cast that they put before her, these weren't big Survivor fans.
But
Jeremy and Josh and Reed were the fans, and that was it. What was that?
This season only had 8 women and 12 men, so it was a gender imbalance.
No, it was 10, remember? Because Kim and her sister dropped out the day before, and they couldn't put in another pair of women.
So was it? It was 10 men and 8 women this season.
10 to 8. Yep.
Okay, so there was a gender imbalance, but they ended up making that work. Like by the end, I think it was all women and Keith.
Yeah, the entire jury is. People always say it's like despicable that there's only one woman on the jury of this season. It's because the 3 other women are sitting at final 3.
Yeah, the women did the best they could when the merge hit, and that's part of Natalie's game. So the thing is, I think I don't know. I wouldn't say this is a returning win, but I will say that if you want to see Natalie 1.0, watch Amazing Race 21. On Amazing Race 24, they're the first. Her and Nadia are the first boots. It's one episode if you want to watch it. I guess you're not getting. There's nothing of value there for them. But season 21 is like it's Natalie 1.0. This to me is like Natalie 1.5 because she hasn't played Survivor yet. But then you get Natalie 2.0 on Winners of War. So like this to me is like 1.5. Like the seeds were already there with all the aggressive strategic gameplay. They did on a show that usually doesn't have that. Boston Rob is the same way, except Boston Rob had already played Survivor when he won Amazing Race. He does aggressive strategic gameplay, and it makes the show more fun. But then you get people like Keith and Whitney on Amazing Race, and they're like, dude, did you even play Survivor? What are you doing?
It's like, how was casting saying, Keith and Whitney were so interesting on Survivor.
Gotta get
them on another show.
I love when Whitney cheated on her husband with Keith.
Insane. I have Natalie ranked as the 10th best woman, which I know might like raise some, ruffle some feathers, whatever. People might not like that, but I do have her ranked as the 10th best woman to ever win Survivor. So that's where I stand on her. I think that, her game, there are some sloppy elements to it. We have Daryl here saying Natalie yelling at the baseball guy was fun. Like Natalie is a hothead. And I think that actually is part of why she's such compelling TV. It's similar to Tony, but Natalie's able to kind of work her way out of these like situations just because of the pairings and stuff. It really worked out for her when you start getting down to the end game. What is it? You have Josh and Reed both make the merge. Alec doesn't. It's John and Jacqueline, Josh and Reed, Baylor and Missy, and Wes and Keith. So you're talking 8 of the final 11 are in pairs. And then when Natalie,
incompetent Survivor.
Yeah, it's so interesting this season. And so again, like I'm not really like trying to knock Natalie. I'm just saying I think the internet wants to cling to Natalie being better than she is. I still think she's a great Survivor player. I also get way too many unironic, not trolling comments about how Natalie has the best average placement of any 2-time player. And I'm like, you all need to just get out of here like as quickly as
does she?
possible.
I mean, it's
1.5 place.
Yeah.
Her average placement is 1 and 2.
Michelle's is 2. Joe's is 2.5.
That's what I'm saying. But it's like she
Yeah.
was voted out first in Winners at War. Stop giving me this non-trolling, non-ironic nonsense.
So with Natalie, another thing worth mentioning is she was only 3 votes off a perfect game, and all 3 of them were at Final Tribal. It's almost like the design of this season, the theme of the season. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tyson got into a situation where like he could have gotten every vote, so it's not necessarily, but it does make the theme does make it harder to clean sweep the jury. And Natalie, and then with this jury, could not clean sweep it. Baylor was never not going to vote for her mom. What votes did Jacqueline get? She got one from John, of course.
She gets it from Reed as well, which
So,
that's another thing. Again, I got into a lot of arguments on the internet during the bracket from Dalton Ross at Entertainment Weekly being like, there's no way Natalie Anderson should be winning. She beat Tony in like whatever one it was. And I was like, you guys are crazy. It was people being like, well, she only didn't get Reed's vote because he didn't want Missy to win. I'm like, you guys just create stories in your minds and then attach fact to it. It's like, stop that. Don't do this. Like Reed did not vote for Natalie. Reed voted for Jacqueline. So there is one vote that wasn't a family member that Natalie Anderson did not get.
But that's the only vote I'll knock against her. So like she's 3 votes off technically from perfect game, but really 1 vote, because those 2, she was never getting John or Baylor's votes. 1 vote off, and it's like, that's impressive. And I got to give Natalie credit. Where do you think she ranks as a winner amongst all 50? And yes, the internet did rank, of course.
So I'm going to say
I didn't go out on the street and get people's ranks.
I guess 9. I already said 8. 9.
Close. 8. She's one.
So I should have just stuck with 8. Damn.
She's 1 spot above JT, which I disagree with.
That's crazy.
She's 1 spot below Tyson, which I disagree with. Well, her and Tyson can be close to each other. I don't mind that. I meant just JT being at 9. I don't agree with.
No, that's what I'm saying too. I think that's crazy. Tyson. I have Tyson a few spots ahead of Natalie, but not like far ahead of Natalie. Sure. If you were to ask me, and Wes, I don't know how you feel about this because I know that this ranking is coming from viewers and the internet and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my bottom 10, really, it's like my bottom 9 is pretty set in stone. My top 10 is pretty set in stone. If you were to tell me like, hey, your 25 should change with your 19, I'm like,
whatever.
Maybe like you could probably make a compelling argument to make me change that. So like when I rank Natalie where I do, on a different day, I might rank her 10 spots higher. I might rank her 3 spots lower. Like it's just like how you felt at the time. Cause I don't feel as strongly about her game as others do. Are you on the boat that she beats Keith Nail or no?
Oof. Well, Keith gets Wes's vote, obviously. Who's she say next to? Who's Keith replacing? Missy?
Yeah, let's say Missy's out there. So it's Jacqueline, Keith, and
Golly, because he's not getting John's vote. He's not getting Wes's vote. Baylor probably votes not for Keith, if we're being real. I think Baylor votes for a woman. I could be wrong.
Baylor and Missy vote together.
I think I can see. Oh, you're right. So maybe Missy votes for Keith based on the story of the season, that she's a sucker for men. That was the story of the season. So Baylor votes with her. So maybe they both vote Keith. Wes votes Keith. That's 3 votes. You need 5 to win. I don't know. There's a case.
Sure.
There's a case for Keith. If Keith had won, it would have been a fun win, but it wouldn't have been strategically satisfying like Natalie's was.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But I think people miss how close Keith was to winning this season. And you could say, like, no, if Keith sits at the end, Natalie wins that. But when you look at the jury, again, this is an all-male jury with the exception of Baylor. Now, if you put Missy over there, Missy now takes up Keith's spot. But, like, Wes is definitely voting for Keith. Alec is,
which is the vote Natalie had. Keith and Wes's votes Natalie had, so she loses those 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's
still vote for Jacqueline? Because if Reed votes for Jacqueline, that's 2 votes for Jacqueline. So I keep interrupting you, but I'm just thinking through the jury.
No, go ahead. You go, because I know what was happening was every time that I thought you were going to take a breath, then you talked, and then I was just
go ahead.
What do you got? What do you got for the jury?
I think Jacqueline still gets the same 2 votes, but does she get any more because Missy's not there? And it's like, or like, I don't know. Like, I don't think Jacqueline still doesn't win in that situation where Keith's in the final 3.
And what's interesting is I think it's an 8-person jury. I think you're looking at a 3-3-2 potentially, or a 4-3-1 potentially. And Jacqueline doesn't get Reed's vote, and Reed instead does vote for Keith maybe in that situation. So.
And we don't know what the tiebreaker is yet, Phil, because I think it's during Game Changers. for some reason this had to be in the edited show. During Game Changers, they say, hey, just to let you know, if there's a tie vote at the final 3, the third person picks the winner.
You know why?
Okay, so what was the rule before that?
You know why they say it there, though? You know why they say it there.
They hadn't filmed Ghost Island yet, so tell me.
No, they had.
No, they had not.
Really?
Yes, when they filmed Game Changers and Jeff said those words, they hadn't filmed Ghost Island.
No. But the reason that it's in the show that makes the cut is because of it happening in Ghost Island. I bet you he said that in a lot of other seasons. Because I remember the big argument on the podcast, especially when Aubrey was taking on Michelle. It was a big argument where people were like, what would happen? What would happen? What would happen? I'm like, third place would vote. And people kept saying I was an idiot. They didn't know what they're talking about. And then that ended up being the tiebreaker. To me, that was always the most common sense tiebreaker. I think the reason they put it in the edit of 34 is because at that time, 36 had wrapped filming and they knew.
Okay, so Phil, track me here. I think they say at the beginning of Game Changers, but who cares? Let's say they say it at the end of Game Changers, Phil. Okay. Game Changers ends on TV. Sorry. No, you're right. No, you have
Game Changers.
You're wrong. No, you're wrong. Game Changers ends on TV May 24th, 2017. They start filming Ghost Island a week or two later, June 5th. So there is a gap. They didn't know yet. So why announce it, right? Why? What was the rule before? How come Dalton Ross can't get an answer about what the tiebreaker would have been for South Pacific? That's what I want to know.
That's interesting.
What was the tiebreaker? I don't know.
That's very interesting. Wow, I just assumed it was because Ghost Island had filmed, but no, you're right.
That makes sense. If you binge it, you probably wouldn't. Why would you look up the filming dates? But when you go back and look at it, you're like, no, they didn't even know yet. So, like, what was the rule? Why did they
really
say
thought
the rule,
Troy Zan was about to tie Sarah? That's what it was.
What was the rule, and why did they say there's a rule change when they don't say rule changes for everything else?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Natalie's best move. Are you on the Alec train of this? Are you on the John blind side of this? Are you on the playing the idol for Jacqueline side of this?
There's so many good moves. Off the top of my head, I did recently make a video for her that's on my Patreon, along with Mike Holloway and Jeremy. All these winners we're about to talk about. Her best move, top of my head, I couldn't tell you her best move. She had a lot of good moves. I don't know what her definitive best move was. What do you think, Phil? What do you have? I'm gonna look at my notes real quick, see if I had something.
I think for me, I probably go with the John blindside. But the thing is, like, John was so, I don't want to be mean, but like John was so stupid in that moment. And he just was so unaware of what was happening around him that I almost think really the moment that she takes control of the game and that it's very clear that Natalie has this is when she decides, like, when it's like, okay, Alec's going to go home at this point. Natalie, Missy, Keith, and Baylor vote out Alec in that tribal. And then the next episode, she does the 2-2-2, ends up voting out John 2-1, and then is able to flip it around. I mean, it's weird because she makes 3 great moves down the stretch, like 3 amazing moves. Because what was very compelling about this is the move that she makes on John to vote him out. Now Jacqueline and John are pissed, but now she turns around and saves Jacqueline. So now John has to have a smile on his face at the jury because it's like, oh, she blindsided me, but she's still protecting my woman. Yeah, we're going to get her to the end. And so she does a really good job with her jury management with these moves. Yes. But I think it's the John move. Yeah,
John needed to go. The show was in love with John too in the edit, and maybe it's reflecting what was on the island. I don't know. When we saw that Missy loved John in a non-romantic way, where they're like, "Why are you so attached to John, Missy? Like, what is your deal?" Of course, then you got guys flirting with Jacqueline when Jacqueline's literally with John. It is a whole thing with those two. But yeah, I don't definitive best move. Honestly, any of her good moves could be a definitive best move, and I think it's a fair argument. Her worst move as well is another one. It's like, I don't know if there's anything definitively the worst. Like, she was never, in my opinion, on the verge of going home.
No, her worst move, in my opinion, is going at John Rocker as early as she did. And I know people
I think it worked. I mean, it was risky, but it worked.
It kind of worked. It worked for her because her tribe never went to tribal council. Like, she goes to one tribal in the entire pre-merge. I think that's why it was more beneficial to her. If it's not that, it is definitely being as dumbfounded as she is when Jeremy goes home. She has no idea that is coming. And it's not really like, oh, she made a misstep because
Yeah,
she
Jeremy
survives it.
going.
She's totally left out of that.
She didn't know about. Yeah, I could say Jeremy going for sure. Could be her worst move because that was a close ally of hers. Pays off though in Winners at War because he doesn't vote for Tony, votes for Natalie.
Yeah,
even though the story of that season shows Jeremy and Tony being close.
I love that season has a guy who goes to Final 7 or something, voting for the first person voted out of the season to win the season. Winners at War. Love it. I hate Winners at War, man. I don't hate it. I just don't like it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on because we got to talk about Mike Holloway, who, while he is not beloved, Phil, I'll give you a heads up there on the rankings. Personal top 10 winner for me, and I know that his win makes the season more predictable. It works. Mike is a very rootable winner. It would have been one thing if he was like Rodney, who pulled off the same win. Like, Rodney's funny, but like, I would have been emotionally satisfying is not the word I'd give a Rodney win or a Dan win or a Carolyn win. I mean, maybe the shows are edited differently if one of them win, but no.
Don't leave out Will Sims. Where do you stand on a Will Sims win? He's awful. He's a monster.
Yeah, he was clearly recruited, and I know so many people were recruited, but his was more obvious than others.
He was at a gas station. You remember this?
Yeah, I do. That whole fake scenario that he was a part of. Yeah. I do think wasn't Will Sims didn't he replace somebody last minute too? He wasn't even meant to be on the season. I think they had somebody else cast and he replaced. I could be wrong on that.
I forget what it is. The one thing I will say though, and I do not like Shireen. So I've said that throughout the entirety of this show since all the way back in Worlds Apart. I do not like Shireen. Will Sims goes way too hard on Shireen, but then the show wants to focus on Dan Foley because the show is more worried about the appearance of the show than they are about actually protecting the women on their shows, which is just, I just have to say this, the way Jeff treats Dan Foley at the end of the game at the reunion is despicable.
It's to protect Survivor.
Because then he turns around and Dan's a misogynist. We don't have time for misogyny, this, that, whatever. And then he brings out a birthday cake for Rodney and doesn't ever question Rodney about all the misogynist shit he says throughout. Now, granted, I love Worlds Apart. Okay, I really do. I love Worlds Apart. I think that it's a great cast because the villains lose. But my thing is I don't like Shireen, but one of my favorite moments of that entire season is at the reunion when Will Sims' wife is screaming from the crowd at Shireen because Shireen is still going at Will. And Will Sims' wife is in the crowd. And I'm like, oh man, that she has just been stewing on this shit for so long.
He's clearly in Will Sims' camp. And I think they're both. And we're here to talk about Mike. I don't want to get into all this because we can talk about this the entire time. Mike, what makes Mike's emotionally sad or his win emotionally satisfying though, partially is because the show makes you side with Shireen, whether you do or not, Phil. The show is intentionally trying to make you side with Shireen so that you side with Mike because they want you to root for Mike because Mike steps in, stops the bullying. There's a secret scene showing them looking through that chest or whatever. By the way, it leads to the bullying. Where they're him, Jen, and Shireen are all there could have been more in here. We should go ask Will. There definitely could have been more in here. This is a pretty big chest. And it's they're not wrong. The chest wasn't stacked full. It had space in there. But yeah, Will just goes off. So Mike, the thing is, Mike's already entertaining for the first episode when he eats the scorpion and he doesn't feel good after eating it. But it works. You like Mike from the beginning. He's Dan, you want to be a good guy or a bad guy with this bag decision that they have at the beginning of episode 1. And they end up choosing the right bag. But then what's her name? Sierra Dawn Thomas, fan favorite game changer, Sierra Dawn Thomas, that can't be the large bag. And it's but you knew Mike had made the right decision or the good decision for his tribe. So it's you're already rooting for Mike from the beginning. He's a hero. And so when the auction happens, it's definitely we all know what he was intending to do. And he's oh, I can't do that. I would never do it to you guys. No, you definitely were about to do it. And you just thought about it too late. You reversed your decision too late.
It's his best move, or it's his worst move by far.
Definitively the worst move is the auction. But it makes the season better because Mike goes from in a pretty good spot, probably was going to be sniped after Joe Anglem, to oh my gosh, he's the underdog definitively. But it has that bad move, but it never makes you feel like Mike's a villain. He was going to do it, he ended up not doing it. It makes everyone else look worse with how they treat him from there on out.
Now, do you know, because Mike was voted into second chance, Jeff says that at the reunion, he says somebody just moved up a spot. Do we know who that 10th person was? Do we know who the person is? Because people forget Mike Holloway got voted into second chance. That's how popular he was at the time.
Yeah.
I know that people have kind of lowered and soured on Mike's win because I think it's 2-1 no, but I am going to get into that with you here, Wes, about why I agree with you that Mike's win is very underrated.
I think Mike's win is fun to watch. So the thing is, I have some bias here. He's openly Christian, but also he literally is him and his wife are fostering children, and I think they've adopted. I think they just recently adopted.
I think they just recently did. Yeah, him and Meg.
Okay, so my wife and I also foster, and we just recently adopted as well. So like, you want to see yourself reflected in the show, and when I see Mike, like I don't physically see myself, like I'm not in shape like Mike is, but I do see myself in Mike, flaws and all. When I see Mike. So that's why I said it's all personal bias when I say Mike's top 10. Like I get why people don't like him, but I don't know. When you see yourself in the show, it's kind of fun. Like I see a little bit of myself in Penner, but I see more of myself in Mike. Though I wouldn't win. I could not win the same way Mike does. I'm looking at the other men who didn't make it in. I would say if the person, do you think it had to be Shane Powers, right?
No, because Shane was already out.
Somebody who got on the cast. Sorry,
I think it was either Savage or Terry.
Oh, somebody who didn't get in. Yeah, I think you're right. But the show they already knew Mike wasn't getting in. So
they already knew, but Jeff says that, and so I do think that like I would love to know what the actual 1 through 10 was on.
I bet you I would say Savage. I think Terry Dietz was more popular,
and then Savage ends up being absolute gold on that season. So.
Yeah, no, almost every single. And that whole vote for the cast is almost like an in the hands of the fans vote. Like we did have some decision. I'll give them that. But it was clear who they wanted on the season. They just put together a good ballot.
Yeah.
Frankly. It was a good ballot. So they got what they wanted.
I want to talk positively about Mike's game here. I actually have him ranked lower than Natalie Anderson. But I want to talk positively about Mike's game because I don't think that people do enough. I know that people say, he needed to win 5 immunities. Yeah, very clutch that he did. Also, though, if you look at the game that Mike plays from the time that he makes
idol.
And he plays an idol. Yeah, so he's not eligible to go home for the final 6, I think, votes of this season. But here's the thing. Sometimes you could sit there and say, he needed all these immunity wins. Is it that impressive? Whatever. Mike says the right things to every single person on that island. And they are all so terrible at Survivor that he cannot break through on any of them.
Yeah. They're just so openly mean to him, even though he's like being nice.
Yeah. He tells Dan exactly what's going to happen. And Dan misplays his extra vote in the most tragic fashion because he just does not have a thought in his brain and won't listen to Mike.
Yeah,
and Mike
thick-headed.
Yeah, and Mike does the same thing to Sierra, and he says it to Tyler, and he says it to Mama C. Everything Mike says from the moment he makes the comment is correct. And yes, he needs to win immunities, but that's only because the people he was playing with were literally playing horrible Survivor. They were playing so poorly that they did not understand that Mike was somebody who could be used to benefit their game. Instead, they just ostracized him. That's on them. That's not on him.
If this was a Tony season, Tony would have picked up Mike, Jen, and Shireen and used them.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why they all lose, and that's why they don't get it, and they're all dumbfounded. And Mike wins 5 in a row, and like Wolfyog says here, it's impressive to win 5 straight challenges. Winning 5 straight individual immunity challenges is insane, and I don't know why
it wasn't 5 straight. He won 5, but it wasn't 5 straight. He had to play an idol somewhere in there.
Oh, so he wins 5 out of 6. You're right.
He wins 5. I know that, but I just don't think it's 5 in a row because he had to play his idol.
It's 5 of the last 6 immunity challenges. He loses the one. Mama C wins, and then they vote out Tyler because he plays the idol.
And they all just vote on him because they don't think he has the idol.
Exactly, because they don't think, and like
they don't.
It's so interesting to me that people want to if you make these great strategic moves, you're seen as a better winner. But if you win immunities, you're not. And the show got away from that. And it's like the one way to guarantee that you're going to be safe is to win immunities. To win 5 out of 6, find an idol, play an idol successfully, and be successful for all of that. That's not because Jeff and production want you to succeed. That's because you're operating at a higher level. I'm impressed by that. And then you turn around and you get all these votes from all these people who hated you anyway, because really they had no reason. You made one mistake and then they just closed you off. like you said earlier, the final tribal council performance is incredible.
Mike is proof that you don't need Final Four fire making. This is right before they implement it, forcing it, because it's like Rodney and Carolyn do fire, which is just a disaster fire making, as they swap out flints like 3 or 4 times, break the flints or whatever. Mike's proof that they didn't need to do that. They just needed to design their immunity challenges in a way that encouraged the winners they wanted, and we wouldn't have noticed. Maybe we would have. We wouldn't have noticed it was so blatant, because the fire making is a clear, blatant change to get the certain kind of winners they want, or to have the kind of gameplay they want. But if they just design the immunity challenges in a way that encouraged it, that would have been better. Also got to mention Sumo C was the last season we just talked about. San Juan del Sur, banned. Jeff's on the On Fire podcast, that's banned. Can't do it anymore. Won't do it anymore.
Why?
Last season we saw it. Even though that is a challenge, because I guess risk of injury, even though the only injury we saw was on Blood vs. Water with Tyson, with his arm.
And it was like a half-assed injury that he milked so that people would think he was less of a threat.
It didn't last very long. I don't know. It's a challenge, though, that would go hand in hand with so many seasons, these versus seasons. It's like David versus Goliath would have been a fantastic season to have that challenge, but they just didn't do it.
Don't forget Baylor cuts her lip too.
Oh,
remember that? And then she's crying yeah.
Can't have people cutting their lip on Survivor, Phil. That's too dangerous.
Yeah.
Also, going to mention another challenge that apparently is banned. I just found out because somebody commented on the channel. I went and looked it up. The challenge where Tiffany didn't lift her foot fast enough. What's that called? Bermuda at sea or whatever.
Yeah, Jeff just announced they're never doing that again.
So get this, Phil. Color me shocked when I went back and watched Winners of War and saw that they did the challenge differently. And the way they did it in Winners of War is the correct way of doing it to not have the issue they had in 50. Like they forgot how to do it. So in between transitions, everyone sits on the thing. And then Jeff says, I'm going to count you into standing up on this thing. And that's it. And then when Adam doesn't stand up fast enough, he's out.
Yeah.
Why is there a live transition? Because just have everyone sit their butts down and then have them stand up again. And because
we've lost the plot. We've lost the plot, Wes.
It crazy me when the show does something correctly and then does it wrong later, and they're like, well, we can't do it anymore. Yeah, but you already knew how to do it correctly.
Yeah.
Like the auction is almost back to normal in 50, but it's like you already had it done it correctly before. Just do it the way you were doing. Like, just how'd you go from an A to an F? And then you're like, well, can't do it anymore because I got an F. But you did the A before. Just do the A again. Why are you failing? Why are you flunking something you already aced? I don't understand. So, anyways, Mike, I love Mike this season. He's a great character. The season's painted as a movie. It really is. It's almost like Chris Daughtry in that way, except Chris Daughtry didn't win. I mean, he did win immunities, but it wasn't the same type of win. His was more social. Mike's was like the whole time, like you're saying, telling people what's going to happen. Hey, you need to do X, especially to Dan. And Dan's like, screw you, Mike, when you did that thing at the auction. That was the end of the line for me. And then at Final Tribal Council, Mike, while I think he's being completely genuine, finally says to Dan what Dan wanted to hear, which was an apology. And good for Mike. I mean, Mike humbled himself because I think Mike was being legit. I don't at all get any sense that he was pulling Chris Daughtry and saying like, Julie, I didn't mean to hurt you. Like, whatever, Chris.
I mean, it never gets better than that for me. Doing that is
him just lying and then believing it. No, Mike was being legit.
Mike was being legit. And the thing was, Mike was trying to apologize to everybody throughout the season, but nobody wanted to even talk to him. They didn't even want to listen to him. They were so disgusted by his antics and how could we be around him? And like, if you look at Mike's game, Mike is supposed to be the blue collar all-American hero type. And he does get to that level, but it's all because of everybody else just not wanting to do anything with him. So here's the thing with Mike. Mike gets blindsided right at the merge when Jen plays her idol and he ends up losing Kelly, who's his closest ally. He's all excited to play with Kelly. The thing is, like, Mike makes great moves. Deciding to vote out Joe before Jen when you know that Jen is essentially quitting. That's a great move. Deciding to vote for Tyler when everybody's bullying the hell out of Shireen and you vote for Tyler instead and you stand up for Shireen. That's a great move. Playing the idol so Tyler goes home. Like, and convincing everybody that you don't have it so they don't try to do some crazy vote split. And what people kind of forget in that moment, he gets Mama C and Sierra to both vote for Tyler as well.
But Mike didn't bring Rodney on a reward for his birthday, Phil.
I know. What a dunce.
Rodney on the beach. Can't believe doing dishes on my birthday. He's like doing his confessional in the rain. He's like, Mama C says she's my mom or whatever. Like, these people say they're my family. They're not my family. Mm-hmm. They're not. And the only person going to final 3 is me. And he's genuine about it. And Rodney is so like, he's a mess, but when he's funny, he's funny. When he does his imitation of Mike doing Mike's voice, like,
he's perfect at it.
He's so good at it. His Mike voice is like a caricature, but it's also dead on at the same time. Like, it's so close.
And then he does the thing with his face and like his arms as he's doing it. Rodney, it's a shame that Rodney kind of like went off the deep end in real life, because Rodney is, I mean, look, he says
you've been great to bring back, I think.
Yeah, he says some messed up stuff on the show, but Rodney is so entertaining. And honestly, like, I'd watch Rodney again. But I'm going to say this. You know what Mike's best move actually is?
Mm-hmm.
It's voting out Joaquin. Because
really? Way back then?
I think so, because when he
gets
votes
Rodney
out
in with him,
Rodney doesn't have a choice but to then be like, okay, now I'm back with you guys. Because Rodney actually is playing a much better game than people think he was. But once Joaquin went, it made it so that Rodney had nowhere to turn but Mike and Will, as we see later in the season. But he doesn't know Will at this point. So I think that might be the best move. And that's the one that really puts it so that Mike does have some control, even when his closest ally gets blindsided at the first tribal council of the merge.
Does Rodney beat Mike if Rodney wins fire? You still think he loses? Okay.
That was a big conversation that we had, but I think that Rodney's final tribal performance wouldn't have been great. I think his fire-making performance is so bad that people wouldn't have voted for him. And I think that the women, no shot, they vote for Rodney.
Yeah. Do you think Mike can get Rodney's vote if he takes Rodney on reward for his birthday?
No. I don't think it matters. I think Will is vote. I think Will is
gets Rodney's vote
no matter what.
Yeah. Just the whole birthday thing is hilarious the entire time. So it never, no matter how many times I watch the season, it never gets old. It's funny every time. It works. It's so edited well. The music works. Like, Rodney is it's because they're so genuine. There's no like it's a bit. It's not like I'm doing this for TV. No, this is genuine anger. Yeah. He genuinely believes these people should be taking him on reward for his birthday.
I know. Tom Brady fourth quarter.
It's one. So I as always, you can tell what season I've recently watched. Winners at War. Nick was like, "Why are they targeting me on my birthday?" And all I got was Rodney flashbacks. It's like, why would they target me on my birthday? I didn't know birthday was immunity and reward, Phil. That's what I didn't know before Survivor.
Meanwhile, like, people, I think early seasons, people were getting voted out on their birthday like crazy.
Yeah, and I think Cochran pulled, that was a lie on Caramoan. I could be wrong. It was a lie that his birthday, so they're like, oh, Cochran, it's your birthday. It wasn't. His birthday's like in January or something.
Yeah.
So, just the birthday thing, I didn't know was so important, but I guess in a social game and you care about the person, that's the key. You care about them.
You don't want to ruin their birthday.
Yeah, you gotta care. You gotta care about their birthday. And nobody cares about his birthday. Mike, just fantastic game. Where do you think it ranks though amongst the fans? They don't think he's as fantastic.
38.
Wow. No, 31. He ranks right above Jam Jam and right below Sophie.
Okay, I can see the Sophie thing. I can see the Jam Jam thing. Like, personally, Mike wasn't in our bottom 20. Mike is going to be in our next episode. So, like, Mike is in the 21 to 30 range. Which I think is where Mike belongs. Like, I understand you have the personal relationship with him. That's kind of like, we always rank Adam very highly. He was a fan of our podcast before he went on the show, which is a big deal for us.
Adam has a very touching story. We'll talk about him tomorrow.
That is also true. And we'll talk about that tomorrow morning. But like, I think, like, you rank Mike high because you have that personal relationship there and that personal, feeling. I feel like Mike in that, 20 to 30 range is about right. So 31, honestly, that's a little bit higher than I thought. I see all the time on the internet now, you see him as like one of the worst winners.
Which I don't agree with. I do agree. I do see why people don't like the season. Where do you think the season ranks?
40?
Close, 42. Right below 44. Speaking of Jam Jam, right below 44 and right above Nicaragua. I think Worlds Apart is better than the rank it's been given. I think it should be in the 30s. I don't know how it's in the 40s. I don't agree with that at all. I think the season's better, but also Mike for me is top 10. I think if I was being unbiased, like I was just looking at it, he's entertaining. And while he does have to win immunities, he does win immunities. It's not like things he's finding in the forest. He's out there winning challenges. And he ultimately does convince the jury vote for him, and he didn't need production interference or a production surprise to make it happen. I think he's better than Ben Driebergen. Like, he is the better version of Ben Driebergen. I wish Mike had been on Winners of War, not
I agree.
Ben Driebergen.
I agree
Mike would not have given up at Final Five
No
for Sarah
shot.
Lucina. I can tell you that. Mike would not have just fallen over backwards for Sarah Lucina to bolster her game like Ben did. Ben wanted friends. Mike would have made friends, and he would have played hard.
And Mike absolutely could have won that season. Like, people don't think that Mike has a mind for the game because he won so many immunities. But again, it's the conversations he was having with everybody. He was telling them what was going to happen and what strategic move they should make, and they just wouldn't listen to him. I actually have this season ranked 18 out of the first 33. I think this season is supremely underrated.
Yes, I think it's underrated. I think it's a mid-tier season, personally. I think it's a mid-tier season, but I also am a sucker for Mike White. Mike White. No, not a sucker for Mike White. I do like him, just not for him. Mike Holloway, sorry.
Yeah.
Again, been watching a lot of 50 stuff too lately. So,
how far off was he from a perfect game?
Mike, yes. Here's another thing. He was 6 votes off of a perfect game. Of course, he missed the Rodney voting for Will. Who voted for Carolyn? Mama C.
Sierra.
Yes, fan favorite game changer, Sarah Dawn Thomas, voted for Mama C. And then throughout the game, Mike got 4 votes against him. And those were the 4 when he played his idol. Before the auction, he was golden. But then when Joe Anglin went, it did seem like Mike was, maybe he wasn't going to go right away, but he was going to go. So once Joe went and then he went out on immunities, it was perfect timing across the board.
Well, and you could make the argument that Mike actually screwing up might have been better for his game, because I do think they would have tried to blindside him at some point. I think he would have probably caught wind just because they weren't the best players. But Tyler was actually the one who was running that season very quietly behind the scenes.
Very quietly.
I think Tyler very much could have gotten enough people to pull a blindside on Mike. It might have been better off for Mike that he had such a massive red target on him that there was nothing anybody was going to do.
Also, it's being said in the comments, but I don't know if this is top 3 theme of the show. But I think, like Mike being the better Ben, I think this is a better version of the same idea of heroes versus healers versus hustlers. Like, this is a better idea than that. Like, that is a lesser idea, and I think Ben's a lesser winner than Mike. I'm not talking about them as humans, individuals outside the show, just talking about the wins and the stories. Like, it's like that whole season is a lesser version of Worlds Apart for me. Worlds Apart is the superior season, superior theme, superior winner, despite having so many similarities.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, we ranked Mike higher than Ben almost across the board on our
non-superior location, though. I think Nicaragua never looks good in any of the, and this is the last time they're in Nicaragua. It's the last time they're there. It's not a beautiful looking season, but
that is that last challenge is one of the coolest, man.
Oh my gosh, the one who got to walk with his mom. Yeah, they used to go high effort.
Oh yeah, all time.
Yeah, I don't know. Was that the last challenge?
No, that's the second to last one. That's at 5. The last one is the one where they have to go up the ladders and down the slide. It's epic.
Oh yeah, they kind of do that again at Game Changers. When Brad Culpepper builds the lighthouse.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Soraya used to go high effort with their challenges. I think that I do see being budget. But Phil, why can't they do the ball, whatever the sim motion thing is? Why can't they do that at sunset? And I'll let you know, the sun does set behind that location where they're at. That is a perfect location for a sunset challenge, and they just haven't done it. And I'm like, why not? Like, that is a beautiful, and it's the final challenge, sunset. That challenge sunset. Make it happen, Survivor. That's where the sun sets in Fiji. I've been there. That's exactly where it sets.
Yeah,
that's crazy to me.
I don't know why they don't want to do anything at night or anything like that.
That doesn't require more money. It doesn't require more money. It just requires creativity. So,
all right.
Anyways,
anything else?
Budget era soon.
Yeah. Anything else on these?
No, I'm ready to talk tomorrow. Again, tune in, everybody. We're going to talk about Jeremy through Ben Driebergen. I do like Ben. I'm just saying Mike's a better Ben. For those wondering my thoughts on Ben.
We only have 4 episodes of this left. After tomorrow, only 3 left. So yeah, everybody, make sure you tune into that tomorrow. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you made it this far along. Please do those things. I mean, Wes, we're talking tomorrow, so I mean, there's no way you have anything coming out between now and tomorrow.
I am also releasing a video tomorrow, but it's part of the YouTube took down 50 plus videos. So Boston Rob Marquesas, I had to redo it, so I redid it. Boston Rob Marquesas goes up tomorrow on the channel. almost a complete remake. Not a complete remake, but almost a complete remake from the original video. So it's almost brand new. It's Boston Rob. Who doesn't like Boston Rob, right? Who doesn't? Phil, you can't say anything else. Who doesn't like?
Yeah, I'm just not going to talk. No, we're all good.
Can you believe I have 10 different Boston Rob videos because that's how many shows and stuff he's been on, reality shows.
I mean, it makes sense. And honestly, he was great on the Traders. Like, let's be real.
He was the only reason to watch Deal or No Deal Island that season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was also good. I mean, that made Deal or No Deal Island get a second season. So
it did.
But all right, everybody. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow at noon Eastern time. Otherwise, like this video, subscribe, and we'll see you then.
Bye.